This could end the bro hug. That would be great for you because there is nobody worse at the bro hug than one David Moulton.
And Moulton.
I used to be. 2019, I found my bro hug groove.
Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
All guests appear on the Goldberg Noon Abraham hotline. Goldberg-law.com.
Yes! No! Oh, I like it.
It's up to you now. It's up to you.
I like it.
Now, the best local sports show this town has ever heard. Here's Miller and Moulton.
You're live. How the heck are you, Miller and Moulton, on this Friday, the 15th of May? Thanks so much for being with us. Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio, streaming foxsportsfm.com, and broadcasting live once again on the Miller and Moulton YouTube and Twitch TV channels. They're free, by the way, so sign up. Watch the show. It's interactive, especially on Twitch with the chat room. And you get to hear the two of us during the commercial breaks, which sometimes can be some of our best material. How are you, Mark?
I'm good. Tired.
How'd you hit him yesterday? Or was yesterday a school day?
Yesterday was a school day.
I'm getting my days confused.
Yeah, Wednesday's my golf day.
That's right.
Today we're breaking in another round because Mom is going to spend tonight with my daughter. I'm leaving right after the show and delivering my daughter to Grandma.
Okay. All right.
And then making it back for like an 11:30 tea time.
Like the U.S. Postal Service, in other words, just, quick delivery and then, back at it.
No, more like FedEx, quick delivery.
Well,
you did the Postal Service.
Yeah, listen, they're quick with me. Maybe they know how you feel about them, and so they deliver accordingly. But they're snap of the fingers for me.
My mother-in-law refers to them as the Pony Express on how long it takes cards to get from Pittsburgh to here.
There are certain parts of the country in which, everything goes through certain hubs, and certain hubs are faster than others. Certain hubs have things disappear more so than others. It just happens. It's kind of like, washer and dryers. Some washer and dryers, you just lose more socks than others. I mean, I'm telling you, it's just one of those things that really can't be explained. The late George Carlin said, in a famous routine one time, that you're going to get to heaven and they're going to hand you a box of all the socks and pens that you have lost over the years.
Well, I stole all the pens. Make no mistake. I took them.
You're one of those.
Oh, yeah.
Gotcha.
Pens, light. My favorite was, and I've not had a cigarette in, it's been well over 10 years since I was a smoker. And I had an uncle who was really good at not only stealing your lighter, but he might take your cigarettes, and he really enjoyed when you would bum a smoke out of your own pack and he would light it with your lighter. And this all usually happened around a card game, if you know what I mean. The family card game, and he would just, all of a sudden he's got 6 lighters and 4 packs of smokes.
Unbelievable. There's always one in the group. My wife steals pens.
Not surprised.
All the pens.
It's not.
I am.
It's not. She's not really stealing. She just sees the pen and is cleaning up. Ooh, there's a pen. I don't think in her eyes she's stealing pens. She's like, ooh, there's a pen.
Can we review? Here's usually how the thefts take place. Said pen is laying on a table of some kind, usually.
So it's not put away.
Correct. So you then come over and do what? You use the pen. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. Why do you then take pen, put it in your pocket? Why do you then take pen and put it in your purse?
Putting it away. Not leaving it out. Cleaning up.
Hello? The pen was there for some reason that had nothing to do with you.
Someone forgot to put it away.
It was not your pen.
That's irrelevant. The pen was out. The pen was out, and she just put it away. I've got her back here. I normally don't. She usually sends text about something I've said wrong early in the show, but right now I've got her back.
Of course you do.
Well, not of course. I've defended you many a time, but on the pens, put your stuff away.
No. I said, of course you do, because, well, you're a thief.
I'm a pen thief.
Right. So that's why I said, of course you
Yeah.
want it back, because you resemble that remark.
Oh, definitely.
Okay. It's good to keep learning on this show.
And
that's for sure.
I will say, as much of a pen thief as I am, I don't steal your pens.
No, you don't.
You still have, you had pens here for 5 weeks before I even decided to use them.
Yes, I left a notepad and pen.
They're all right there.
Feel free to use notepad and pens, but whenever the time comes that I return to the cozy confines of the studio, sometime probably at 2022 at this rate, but when that happens, all right, I want said pens to be there. And also, come on now, and I think I can get some backing at 479-5551, 479-5551 on the Williamson Brothers Marine and Roofing text and talk line, because there are also different kinds of pens. There are good pens, and then there's this standard run-of-the-mill pen. If by chance you take the standard run-of-the-mill pen, it's inconvenient. Where's that pen that I left and what have you? But come on now, we all know the good pens. You know, they got the little area where maybe it's soft on your knuckle for where you hold it. It's just a better quality pen. It writes better. All right? You can't be taking those.
You can't leave those out.
That's where I leave the pens. That's where I do my work.
Now wait a minute. See, you just said, hold on here. Now let's just take a step back and review what has been said. You started this conversation by there's just a pen lying out there, and your wife would take said pen and put it in her pocket. Now, later in the conversation, you're claiming that the pens are at your work area. Those are two separate issues. If your wife comes to your desk and steals your pen, that is larceny. That is grand theft. I've got your back. Pen is on the dining room table, on the kitchen counter, on the random end table, a totally different situation than what you just described. You pulled a me in 8 minutes.
Well, I have a designated area at the kitchen table.
You have a designated area at the kitchen table.
Mark, you got to remember.
It's a DA.
Mark, we don't, not to be confused with the DA.
Thank you. Which we're going to have in uniform if there's baseball played.
Right.
See, we just did sports in the monologue. Go back to the pens, David.
Right. It is the baseball hour after all. I want to fit it in. Mark, remember, we don't do a lot of cooking in this house. We have a rather big kitchen table. It's rectangular. It's got room for 6 high chairs. Well, there's only the two of us. The table is used by both of us as office space, basically. We both, and my wife, by the way, uses at least 2/3 of the table. I mean, much like the closets, I've got just a small designated area.
So you could say that since the wife has the majority of the table, that
Yes.
it's basically her table.
Well, Mark, I mean, it's her house. She's claimed the whole damn thing. She's claimed my closets. I mean, the only thing in the house that is mine is my bed. We don't sleep together anymore. All right. She's got her side of the house with her room and her bed. I have my bed. It's not even my room anymore. It's just a place where she walks through to get to her clothes. But the bed is mine. And there is an area, a designated area. Yes.
DEA.
Maybe we should rope it off. Maybe I should get some kind of tape, actually, to designate my area. Crime scene yellow tape or
I
orange
think
tape,
now
whatever the case may be.
you're onto something. Or I'd put the pen back on your bed.
You know what? I've got a bunch of stuff on my bed because it is the only thing I own in the damn house. That's it. And one of the 2 cars. I have a car and a bed. I'm 54 years old. That's all I own.
In this lamp.
And a bed.
In this lamp. And oh, sorry, I thought you were doing Steve Martin from The Jerk there walking out of the house.
Pretty close to it. Pretty damn close to it. You're right. Now I get to use certain parts of her designated area. I do get to, eat some things around here. I do get to sit in one of the three sitting areas in the living room. When the dog has not, is not laying on it. Now I just realized how much I don't own in life. Here I thought I was doing pretty well.
Nah,
No, not really.
not really.
479-5551, 479-5551. There's actually quite a few stories to get to. But the one that is going to garner the most attention today and throughout the weekend is it's going back to this whole baseball thing and whether or not the players and owners are going to agree on compensation. And Blake Snell of the Tampa Bay Rays.
Live on Twitch, as a matter of
Yes.
fact. Live
Yes.
on Twitch.
Yes, this was a breaking story that occurred, Wednesday night?
Yes.
Live on Twitch. Took
Yes.
about 18 or so hours to kind of get out there and ruminate and all that, and it did by late in the day yesterday. And Blake said that it's not worth it to him to play this year if they have to take an additional pay cut. And now he's getting criticized for saying that. And I will go back to something that you and I have contended for a long time. Do not ask people a question and hope for the truth. Get it, and then beat them over the head about it. Come on now. You asked him. He told you. It's his opinion. He's entitled to it, by the way. He's the player. I mean, he really is entitled. Like, there's a big commentary in the New York Post from a very esteemed baseball writer in Ken Davidoff. Blake Snell should have kept this to himself.
Bull!
Why?
Bull!
Why?
You know what? Bull!
Why?
What were you going to write about if he didn't say something?
Oh, yeah.
What use do you have as a baseball writer without Blake Snell doing what he did? There's not a damn thing out there to write about. And Blake Snell told the truth.
Yeah.
Told the heartfelt truth and said,
Yeah.
I love baseball, but 300,000 people have died, and I'm not risking my life for a shortened season with even more less pay. Not doing it. Not interested.
These are his feelings. He's like, listen, we negotiated this. We sat down at the end of March. We, the players, have been going on with life expecting that if the day comes that we play again, we know how much we're going to make. Do not ask us to take another cut. Sorry. It's on you. And some of the quotes I could see where people would have a problem with. Disagreeing with somebody's one thing, but they're still entitled to say it. They're certainly entitled to believe it. And besides, he was asked a question about it.
Well, and I'm sorry, should have kept it to himself? Really? I mean, the last time I did check, we live in the United States where we're constantly told freedom of speech. He didn't say anything that could get him fired. He didn't say anything bad about Rob Manfred. He didn't say anything bad about the Rays organization.
No.
He said, hey, some of you guys are going to think differently, but the risk is way the hell higher than the amount of money I'm making. Why would I think about doing that? It's his opinion.
Right.
Now, mine would be completely different, but I am not going to knock Blake Snell for saying that. And I think what you're going to see in the next 48 hours are a lot of athletes that are going to be virtual high-fiving Blake Snell, because you're going to hear more people who have been thinking it.
Well, Bryce Harper and Nolan Arenado have already come out and supported him. Now, listen, I understand that some people are going to be upset. And, Ken Davidoff in the New York Post made the comment in which he's like, this is not the time to be saying that. You can feel it, but you shouldn't say it out loud. I'm a big proponent of saying how you feel, especially when you're asked a question about it. Now, you want to hold it against them? You want to disagree? Yeah, okay. I do think we need to learn how to be more. I think we need to learn again how to disagree.
We've
really
lost every ability to do that. And
We used to be
I think
able
it's
to
why I like
disagree.
this. I think it's why I like the show, David. You and I disagree a lot. We spend a half hour going at one another some days from 9 to 9:30, and then we say, "See you tomorrow."
Well, sometimes we do it between 6 and 9.
But you know what I mean. We've had
Yeah.
you and I in the last 15 years have had some heated exchanges, and
Absolutely.
they end with, "Hey, I'll talk to you tomorrow."
I'll see you tomorrow. But I do think we need to learn how to disagree without being disagreeable again. We've lost that. And by the way, it's the media's fault. I mean, the media started it. I mean, I do think that society is just mirroring the media, which has been screaming and yelling at one another from two sides of a table now for a quarter century. I mean, remember, Crossfire used to be the exception.
David, it's
Not
all
the
I'm thinking
rule.
of is Gene Hackman
I mean,
in
there
your
only used to be-
Fosse movie there,
Right.
where they're watching Crossfire. They're just screaming at one another. And Hackman looks at his wife and he says, "It's the most intelligent show on television."
show on television. Right. I mean, that used to be the exception, not the rule. And it was limited to a half an hour. Listen, I get it. Some people are going to be, we got people losing their livelihoods. And once again, they're going to look at sports. And we've said it for a long time. Sports is not the real world. It's not. It's its own little subculture. It just is, especially pro sports. And so I get it if you're fighting for survival in the everyday real world, as we like to say, and you can see where you're going to get bent out of shape about something that Blake Snell says. I always look at everything in the sports world. I do not even now look at Major League Baseball and what they're trying to do. Like, I'm sorry, I don't look at baseball players as patriots. I don't look as if they come back and play that they're these great heroes. I'm sorry, I don't see it. To me, they're baseball players. And they're being well compensated to play a game, and they made the willful decision to play. And that's it. And they're providing us with entertainment if we choose to seek it out. That's all. I don't look at them as, sorry, those of us in the quote-unquote real world.
And Snell did get asked by the Tampa Bay Times that and he acknowledged that his comments made him appear greedy. And he made, I guess a slight clarification with a text to the Tampa Bay Times. He said, "I mean, honestly, it's just scary to risk my life to get COVID-19 as well as not knowing and spreading it to others. I just want everyone to be healthy and get back to our normal lives because I know I miss mine." Regardless of the retraction, he gave his opinion, everybody. I don't think his opinion was that out there that he gets to get crushed for it.
He said Wednesday night on his Twitch channel, "You all got to understand, man, for me to take a pay cut is not happening because the risk is through the roof. It's a shorter season, less pay." Now, we can debate about the risk being through the roof, the numbers and his age and health and all that. But Bryce Harper said he ain't lying. He's speaking the truth, bro. All right. Also, all right, said on his live Twitch stream, "I ain't mad at him. Somebody's got to say it. At least he manned up and said it. Good for him. I love Snell. Guy's a beast, one of the best lefties in the game." All right. Arenado was a bit more diplomatic, but he said, "I think he was being honest, just being real. He made a lot of good points. There are some points he made that were true that are facts. A lot of it gets misperceived, trying to get the public to understand us. It's not going to work very well in our favor." I mean, the players do know that. I mean, the players know that this argument that has been framed, there are going to be more people against them than for them, even though in our poll question, more people were for the players. But in just about every other public survey that I've seen, from 200 to 200,000 people being surveyed, all right, not one of them has supported the players in this. But I do think, getting back to something that I said earlier this week, Mark, I'm telling you, this is a line in the sand for the players. I really believe it so on many different fronts. One is they believe this in their soul. They have been, if you are in the Major League Baseball Players Association, this has been indoctrinated into you from the very beginning. We do not play in a salary cap sport. We will never play in a salary cap sport. Period. End of sentence. They don't like the owners right now. The two sides don't trust one another. The players see this as a ploy. They see this as the beginning of the negotiation of the CBA agreement after the 2021 season. And they see it as, if we agree to any form of a cap now, then the owners will insist this is our new economic model going forward. I believe this as much as I believe anything that I have said on the radio in a long time. The players will not give an inch. They would sacrifice this season before they would give the owners a dime back.
And it will crush the sport. It will impact the sport greatly. It took steroids, home runs, and Cal Ripken to get past 94. And there's not a McGuire Sosa out there, and there sure as hell isn't a Cal Ripken out there. It'll come back if they miss a season. Baseball fans will watch. But a guy like me who is lukewarm on baseball, if they were to sit this out on money, I don't know how long they're going to lose me for. I'll do what I have to do to get through the 6 to 7 o'clock hour during the summer. But it doesn't mean I have to go to games and have to actively watch much. I can just read what I need to read.
Miller and Moulton, 22 minutes after the hour. A lot happened yesterday in the sports world, believe it or not. We will tell you some of it in case you missed it next on the Starting Five. Good show today. Interviews lined up at 7:30, 8, and 8:30 because of everything that took place.
We're busy.
We are. We are not mailing it in the end this week. Not that we haven't done that in the past, but we are working hard to the finish line of Miller and Moulton. Thanks for being with us. Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
Our sound is a sound that makes you stop. Stop. And listen.
Listen to me and you listen well.
It's a collective voice that calls out to you, the fan.
We get a lot of zany people that call in.
This is our sound.
We're dealing with sick people here.
They're just absolutely nuts. Crazy stuff happens. That's all I'm saying.
And you can only get it here.
Get crazy, get wild.
On Fox Sports Radio.
Blue Emu deep penetrating and odor-free formula supplies healthy muscles and joints. Blue Emu works fast and you won't stink.
Hey, Aaron Walker here. Super excited to announce the grand opening of the all-new giant used car outlet at Naples Nissan. Finally, you can test drive hundreds of previously loved cars, trucks, and SUVs all in one spot. Toyota, Ford, Chevy, Mazda, you name it, we got it. And hey, what's the best part about outlet shopping? That's right. You save tons of money. Over 300 vehicles, wholesale priced, and all backed by our exclusive unlimited mile lifetime warranty. That's a warranty that lasts forever, and that's accepted anywhere in the USA. We've got at least 100 cars you could drive home right now for less than $200 a month. That's probably less than your cell phone bill. Need financing? We got you covered there too. Come see us at the all-new giant used car outlet at Naples Nissan right here on Pine Ridge Road. That's exit 107 off I-75 or visit naplesnissan.com. All offers with approved credit.
It's Fred Kobe with your Kobe Cooling Tip of the Day. There's a trend in the air conditioning business to buy up small companies and become a giant conglomerate like George Soros. Those ambitious corporate giants, to them I say, good luck. If you want to be just another number in the corporate bottom line, they'll be happy to take your money. Kobe Cooling is a local, hometown family with our focus on you, our family of customers. We know your name, and we remember your needs. Your comfort is our priority.
Got an idea for a poll question today?
Part of our company. At Kobe Cooling, we value our personal, small-town relationship with you. It's been that way since my dad started his company
really.
in 1949, and at Kobe Cooling, it's
Wife tried to explain to me last night how she wanted her pizza rolls laid out.
And we never will be. When
saw
you think of air conditioning companies, we hope you'll think of Kobe Cooling.
2 bottles of wine. She's telling me how to serve her pizza rolls. What the hell?
most trusted name in this
That's
business
usually what
since
happens
1949.
once you
License CACO
start dipping into that
5731.
second
Listen
bottle.
to the Dan Patrick Show at work.
Never boring.
That's the truth serum right there.
7 at foxsportsfm.com.
I'm still hungry, she says. I think I want pizza rolls. How do you say no to a woman who asks for pizza rolls?
It just makes her more attractive.
They started flying from the back instead of from the front.
But is it safe to fly? Health officials and airline CEO and passengers who are flying now weigh in.
We're using hospital quality disinfectants.
Is it safe to fly again? Tonight on Wink News.
We're using a hospital quality disinfectant, not that cheap shit we've used in the past. I mean, I gotta admit, it's not a good quote. You gotta think of something better.
It really, it's a great point. All these advertisers who have made such a point to tell you how they disinfect everything now, are they implying that they were effing slobs before the coronavirus?
So what have you been using up until yesterday? Oh, you don't want to know.
I mean, you could have taken one of those blue lights to this car and see how many times the salespeople had sex in the back seat. But now we disinfect this car beyond belief.
Look of wood, real wood, but with a more stable core for Southwest Florida's humidity.
If you haven't been to the Floormeisters, you really owe it to yourself to visit the store. 6281
Boy.
Naples Boulevard, right next to Costco, or go online.
Johnny Mac, you're not. I haven't seen her yet, but just based on what Leslie Zabin's wearing, we have got some yellow going on in this studio today.
Oh, it's now people aren't as bright as her today, but
Johnny Mac on Twitch line says not to change the subject, but Sabrina on Wink looks like a hot peanut M&M.
Measures, manufactures, and installs
funny.
their own award-winning brand of shower doors.
Oh, we got the rain slickers out.
And operated business and has the highest ratings on the Angie's List and Home
She
Advisor.
looks just
Wanna see
miserable.
more? Go to myshowerdor.com.
It's sprinkling wet roadways. Good Christ. You're live, dude.
This is Miller and Moulton.
You're live.
.28 minutes past the hour. Top of the morning to you. How the heck are you? We are Miller and Moulton. This is Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio. We're streaming at foxsportsfm.com, and we are broadcasting live on the Miller and Moulton YouTube and Twitch TV channel. Since we have a lot to get to in the starting five, let's do so right now.
The starting five. 5 big stories that you need to know. This is Miller and Moulton starting five. Fox Sports Radio and foxsportsfm.com.
Well, did you catch this story last night? Began emerging late in the afternoon, maybe early evening. Early evening. Giants cornerback DeAndre Baker, Seahawks cornerback Quentin Dunbar.
Yes, I did.
Yeah, they're wanted on armed robbery and aggravated assault charges in Miramar, Florida, for events that took place Wednesday night at a party at a guy's house. Baker's a first-round pick a year ago from the Giants. Dunbar was just acquired from the Seahawks, from the Redskins by the Seahawks in March. You'll never believe this, Mark. Yesterday was Quentin Dunbar's Meet the Seattle Media Day.
Can't draw it up any better, can you?
Yesterday afternoon, he sat down on his Zoom or whatever and did his, hey, great to be a Seahawk, and said something along the lines of, I just, want to give back and reward their faith in me, and you can judge me by my actions. That. And literally 4 hours later, the Miramar, Florida police said, well, let me tell you about your actions. So DeAndre Baker, who's a first-round pick, so he's got a little bit of money. And Quentin Dunbar, who's made $7 million in the last 3 years and is scheduled to make $3.5 million this year. Yeah, armed robbery, aggravated assault, 4 charges of armed robbery, 4 charges of aggravated assault. All right, and it's aggravated assault with a gun. I don't know. It seems like they might be facing some jail time.
no doubt. The charges, whether it's 1 or 4, I mean, does that mean that they just robbed 4 people in the house?
Yes.
So they beat some people up with their gun and took all their money. They're idiots. Idiots.
Yes.
Idiots.
Yes. Yes.
Blake Snell, you got anything on this? Sorry.
Right. Everybody's going to be outraged at Blake Snell. All right. And
yes. Blake Snell is a good-for-nothing blankety blank, and we're done with baseball, but can't wait for that NFL to start.
Speaking of baseball, a couple sad stories. One, Bob Watson passed away. He was GM of the Yankees when the dynasty started in 1996. He actually resigned shortly after they won that World Series, and Brian Cashman took over. Bob was 74. He died of kidney failure. Mark, a lot of people don't remember this because either they weren't baseball fans or they weren't old enough or some combination of the two. But baseball had a big contest in the late 70s. They knew that season they were going to score their 1 millionth run. And it was a contest as to who was going to score it. Bob Watson, it was determined, was the gentleman that scored baseball's 1 millionth run. But he also, Mark, uttered in 1977 in the Bad News Bears and Breaking Training movie, the classic line, "Hey, come on, let the kids play." That was Bob Watson, who hit .295 over a 14-year Major League career with 4 teams. Best known for playing for the Astros, Bob Watson passed away at the age of 74. Meanwhile, former teammate, 73-year-old Art Howe, is in ICU in a Houston hospital with the coronavirus. He said he came down with it a little over a week ago. It got progressively worse, finally to the point of him being hospitalized. He is in ICU, the former player and manager at 73 years of age, and obviously he's in the very dangerous group for the coronavirus. In some football news, did you hear what James Harrison had to say yesterday?
Yes, I did. Love envelopes with money being given by coaches.
Longtime Steeler said that the best thing Mike Tomlin ever did was he gave him an envelope after a 2010 hit on Browns wide receiver Mohamed Massaquoi. And obviously the folks in New Orleans ears perked up when they heard this and said, anything going to happen to Mike Tomlin and the Steelers? Because, well, we lost our coach and general manager and a couple of players for parts of, if not all of a season. But I'm sure nothing will happen in this instance. But Harrison said that just a couple days after the hit was made, he was sitting around, and all of a sudden that Tomlin walked up to him and handed him an envelope. Now, I will say it was 2010, and the Bountygate happened in 2009, but the punishment did not go down until 2011. So Baker Mayfield, we've learned, is working out with teammates in Baker's hometown of Austin, Texas. So some of the wide receivers and tight ends and what have you are with Baker in Austin, Texas. Did you hear what Scott Strickland, the Florida athletic director, said yesterday?
That I did not hear.
He said, hey, any of the NFL teams out there, wherever you may be located, you need a place to play because your governor or local authorities won't allow you to train or play your games or what have you. We got a stadium. You want to play your games here? We're open. And when you think about it, I mean, think of the stadiums. I mean, Florida has raised their hand to pro sports and said, we are here for you, whatever you need. And the Gator Stadium, the Knoll Stadium, UCF Stadium, there's another stadium in Orlando.
David, actually, skip the colleges, the Trop and the Citrus Bowl.
Right.
I mean, you've got 2 stadiums that have housed one that's had a ton of football games, but the Trop's had a couple.
Sure.
That are not used for football and are not being used. Now, I know the Citrus Bowl is where MLS is planning on having their entire season be played.
But that's starting up in late June, apparently. Heck, it could be done by the time football season starts. So I just thought that was interesting. It's also interesting in college athletics yesterday. The University of Akron cut 3 sports, men's cross country, men's golf, women's tennis. And they did this because they have been told they are going to get 23% less money from the rest of the university. They're going to get $4.4 million less than they normally get. So they cut these 3 sports. The Atlantic 10 mark is a conference yesterday. They didn't do it for basketball, but they announced that for a lot of their other sports, including baseball, they're going to shorten their conference seasons. They're going to make their schools regionalize their non-conference games. The SoCon Conference, or the Southern Conference, they announced all of that, and they went so far as to cut their basketball tournaments down to just 4 teams making it. That's it. If you make the SoCon tournament in basketball, you're in the semis. You're one of 4. Isn't that what the Ivy League does?
Well, they never had a tournament forever. So,
right.
And then they have 4. Hey, I wouldn't be surprised to see more of this for the smaller conferences, especially the conferences that have a destination for their tournament, because I don't know how you make money at the SoCon tournament in Charlotte or wherever you're going to have it. No one goes.
I understand.
You know, I mean, the A-Sun does a good, the A-Sun found that out when we had Belmont playing FGCU in Macon. 6 people at the damn game.
Right.
I mean, I think the A-Sun does it, of all the things they do wrong, their conference tournament is done right.
Yes, and it was after the tournament that we were at in 2012, in which the changes went into place by 2014 anyway, that they're like, listen, we got to make sure we got fans at the games. How about every game's a home game? So that's what they do. But will the A-Sun take the next step? Right now, 8 teams make the A-Sun tournament in both men's and women's basketball. Right now, there are 10 teams in the conference beginning this year. 8 teams make it. Will they maybe decide, you know what, we need to reduce this to 4?
Or even 6, and 1 and 2 get buys.
Right. So we'll see if they go forward. And speaking of scheduling going forward, NASCAR, before racing their first race back, which is this coming Sunday at Darlington. Oh, by the way, we will have all the NASCAR races for the rest of the season right here on Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio. Our coverage Sunday begins at 2:30. But NASCAR came out yesterday, Mark, and announced 5 more places where they are going to hold races after Memorial Day weekend, going all the way through Father's Day Sunday. They are going to go after Darlington and Charlotte. NASCAR has announced they're going to Bristol. They're going to Atlanta. They're going to run 1 cup race on a Wednesday night in Martinsville. Now, not to get picky, but what I don't understand is they're going from Bristol to Atlanta to Martinsville. They could have easily gone from Bristol to Martinsville.
No,
It's
David.
a lot closer.
They're going from Charlotte to Bristol, Bristol to Charlotte, Charlotte to Atlanta, Atlanta to Charlotte. I mean, that's the thing. It's just all back to Charlotte. Get the next car ready to go wherever you're going.
Get a new change of clothes. Did you get my laundry done? Where's my bag? So anyway, Darlington for 3 races, Charlotte for 4. Then they're going to do 2 races at Bristol, 3 in Atlanta, 1 Wednesday night cup race at Martinsville on the short track. Then they're going to Homestead. They're going to run a trucks race, an Xfinity race, and a cup race on 2 of the races on a Saturday and the cup race on Sunday, June 14th at Homestead. And then they're going to run 3 races at Talladega, including Father's Day Sunday. They're running the cup race at Talladega. So NASCAR's full steam ahead even before they've raced their first race back.
Don't you think for Father's Day at Talladega, they should at least have some dancers in the infield on a pole somewhere? I mean, make it seem a little bit more normal.
Hey, I'll tell you what, I don't think they announced that fans are going to be at these races, but let me tell you, they better open up the grandstands for Talladega, because people will be lined up. I don't know if you can race at Talladega and do it without fans. Honestly, they may just barge those gates down. That's a real easy track to get to there. It's right there off the highway. You can see it from the highway. I mean, I don't know.
That's what I was going to ask you. Are there any of the other tracks like Martinsville? Is there somewhere you can see it from nearby? Because like when they race in Phoenix, they had the great shot of out in the kind of the mountains by turn 2, I think it is, where people are kind of camped out. They're not. It doesn't look like they bought tickets, but they can see the track. That's what'll be interesting.
But so far, all of these races are without fans. Part of the reason why they say they're not going to allow fans at Talladega is because they think that the teams are going to need to use the grounds to be all spaced out. If you know what I mean. That
absolutely.
That instead of the teams staying in nearby hotels, that they're actually going to, for the safety of the teams, it's kind of like, hey, why don't you just stay on the grounds? You know, and just all be spaced out. But that could be quite the walk-up line, though, at Talladega. That's all I'm saying. All I'm saying. You could watch a good chunk of that race from the side of the highway.
That's what I mean. And there will be hundreds of people lined up doing that. There literally will have to be police out there to prevent that from happening.
Yeah, I don't think they'll prevent it. I think they'll
yes,
just make sure that I think they'll just make sure that the other cars coming on the highway don't hit them. I think that whole shoulder may be theirs. They may block the whole right lane off. You may only be able to travel in the one direction in the left-hand lane. All right.
Oh, I think they'll block that exit off. Yes, they will. Yeah, that's what they'll actually do. That exit will be blocked off.
And at 18 minutes before the hour, that mark is
the starting 5 big stories that you need to know. This is Miller and Moulton starting 5. Fox Sports Radio and FoxSportsFM.com.
And one thing I wrote down and forgot to say for those of a certain generation, Pepper Rogers passed away yesterday at the age of 88, a standout at Georgia Tech, and also had quite the distinguished coaching career in both college and in the XFL. Once wore a tuxedo on the sidelines while coaching the Memphis, were they the Showboats?
Yes.
In the USFL?
They were.
He wore a tuxedo while coaching Memphis at Giants Stadium against Donald Trump's New Jersey Generals. Trump was throwing money around when he took over the Generals, and so, coming to the big city and all that, and Pepper Rogers wore a tuxedo just to kind of have some good-natured fun. So Pepper was 88 years old. Miller and Moulton. We got a lot out there. Your thoughts on what Blake Snell had to say? And we'll get a poll question out there as well. I promise we will. 16 before the hour, Miller and Moulton, Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
Welcome to the program.
This is the Dan Patrick Show.
I saw where ESPN had a poll question today, and it was greatest basketball player of all time, Michael Jordan or LeBron James. I go, I don't think you do that today. That might not be fair to LeBron today or the next couple of weeks. The next couple of Mondays after this, don't do that. Not fair to LeBron.
Dan Patrick. The Dan Patrick Show. Weekdays at 9 a.m. on Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio and FoxSportsFM.com.
Gotta go, Great news, Southwest Florida. Below invoice employee pricing at Galliana Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. That's right. Below invoice pricing on Chrysler Pacificas, Jeep Wranglers, Jeep Gladiators, and heavy-duty Ram trucks. Over 1,500 new and certified pre-owned vehicles in stock. Loaded, luxurious Grand Cherokee Limited lease. 0 down, $269 per month. That's right. Jeep Grand Cherokee Limited. 0 down, $269 per month. Plus at Galliana Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, you can drive payment-free for 4 months, interest-free for 6 years, and worry-free up to 100,000 miles. Our parts, service, and body shop are open to serve you. Below invoice employee pricing at Galliana Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. 1/2 mile south of Daniels Parkway on US 41 in Fort Myers. Open every day, including Sunday. Call 239-481-2600. GallianaCars.com. 42 monthly, some keep 10,000 miles per year, 0 to 8 signing plus tax, title, doc, and dealer fee, 0 security deposit, $13.88 per month per thousand borrowed for 72 months at 0 APR with 0 down with lender approval.
A big part of enjoying a good bike ride are all the sights you see along the way.
So when David and I both developed cataracts, it didn't take long for us to do something about it.
Turns out some of the best cataract surgeons in the world are right here in our area at Community Eye Center.
We really care about improving people's lives by improving their vision.
Dr. Spalding and Dr. Spatafora really do care about helping people, and we're so glad they helped us.
They're excited. We share in that excitement. It makes us feel great about what we do.
Hi, this is Dr. Scheibel from Community Eye Center. My partner, Dr. Spatafora, and I want to remind everybody, don't be a spreader. The coronavirus is so tiny, 100 million particles fit on the head of a pin. As we run around in our trucks and
Don't
play golf and go fishing,
be a spreader.
As we like to do, we are spreading the virus. The virus can only move with us. Over 65, diabetes, COPD, all these folks will be hurt severely by this virus. Wash your hands, be careful, don't be a spreader.
Pool need a checkup? Call the doctor, the Pool Doctor.
Hi, Dr. Mark here. Heat pumps take heat out of the air and put it in your pool. They cost less to run than gas heaters, and you won't have panels on your roof. Special pricing, rebates, and free on-site evaluations. We're a family company, and for over 40 years, we've been doing business right.
The prescription is the Pool Doctor for award-winning pool service, repairs, and unheard of $39 diagnostic calls. That's mypooldoctor.com or 239-574-1133. State certified CPC 057088.
Listen to Miller and Moulton at home on your Amazon Alexa. Just say, Alexa.
Receiving. Over.
Play Fox Sports FM on TuneIn. We are Fox Sports! No matter where you're boating, with Towboat US, you're covered by the world's largest towing fleet with over 300 ports nationwide. Your local Towboat US companies in Charlotte, Lee, and Collier counties are here to help 24/7, 365 days a year. Inland, the river to Lake O, and out 75 nautical miles. And new membership pricing starts as low as $99. Call 239-945-1664 for more information. Or visit towboatuscapecoral.com. With Towboat US, you're never stuck on the water.
Hey, Aaron Walker here. Super excited to announce the grand opening of the all-new giant used car outlet at Naples Nissan. Finally, you can test drive hundreds of previously loved cars, trucks, and SUVs all in one spot. Toyota, Ford, Chevy, Mazda, you name it, we got it. And hey, what's the best part about outlet shopping? That's right, you save tons of money. Over 300 vehicles, wholesale priced, and all backed by our exclusive unlimited mile lifetime warranty. That's a warranty that lasts forever, and that's accepted anywhere in the USA. We've got at least 100 cars you could drive home right now for less than $200 a month. That's probably less than your cell phone bill. Need financing? We got you covered there too. Come see us at the all-new giant used car outlet at Naples Nissan, right here on Pine Ridge Road. That's exit 107 off I-75, or visit naplesnissan.com. All offers with approved credit.
Now back to Miller and Moulton.
All right, now we're getting somewhere.
No. This is Miller and Moulton.
You're live.
$11 minutes before 7 o'clock. Thanks for being with us. Miller and Moulton, Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio, streaming at foxsportsfm.com. If you miss any part of the show, every hour gets its own Connecticut cast. Thanks to Connecticut, Quality Water Systems of Southwest Florida, 908-2300, 908-2300, or ConnecticutSWFL.com. May is a big promotional and savings month for Connecticut. You don't need to be going to the grocery store and getting all those bottles of water. Just let Connecticut take care of it for you, well, for the rest of your days. Thanks to Connecticut, and we thank them for sponsoring our podcast. 479-5551 is how you can chime in via the Williamson Brothers Marine and Roofing text line, 479-5551.
You know, David, we started something that I didn't even realize a while back. I happen to follow somebody on Twitter who eats a lot. And he had pizza rolls all these different ways, and it inspired me to buy pizza rolls.
Right.
And now I have a wife who's telling me how I should serve pizza rolls.
Wait, You mean there's a way to serve pizza rolls?
Yeah, you take them out of the oven, the microwave, the air fryer, and you eat them on whatever it is you cooked them on.
Right.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, I mean, if you want, I guess you could take them and dump them onto a plate.
Right.
You know, and bring the plate out and say, here you go, here's some napkins.
Uh-huh.
Don't burn your fingers.
Yes.
You know, wait, you mean there's a way? What? Presentation? You know, what? We need colors on the plate?
Do I have to stack them?
Right.
Do I make a pizza roll pyramid to put them on the plate? I mean, I don't know.
Right. Do we do little triangles of 3 at, little parts of the plate? I mean, what?
I mean, you're lucky if I'm making them for you that I serve them to you without eating all of them on the way to the table.
I mean, what do you mean there's a way? I mean, you eat them with we're not even using utensils, for goodness sakes.
But I brought it up during the break, and one of our Twitch listeners says, this talk of pizza rolls over the last 3 weeks makes me wonder if I should buy some. Yes.
Yeah, sure.
It's a pandemic.
Treat yourself, right? Eat all the stuff you're not supposed
Everything
to.
Everything that you can get away with anything right now.
Yeah, if it's not nailed down, eat it. Yes, absolutely. Just the answer during a pandemic is yes.
Yes.
I mean, really, should I? Yes. Yes. Hey, I'm thinking of yes. Yeah, do it. Sure.
I mean, really, the only time it's no if
it comes to food.
Right. I mean, if it's to go run and hug your neighbor, that's a no.
Right. Well, unless they want you to. But you know what we're saying. But yes.
But when it comes to food, the answer is yes.
Yes, especially now. I mean,
who do you have to look good for?
Right. Feel good. Be selfish. It's a pandemic.
Do what David's wife does. Whatever your guilty pleasure is, just refer to it as a vegetable. Right. That's what she does with the Reese's Minis. It's working out really well for her. She's healthy as a horse.
She's eating them by the bag. By the bag. And I mean, look at me. And it's funny, I don't shop at a Costco. You would think somebody who looks like me, and this has worked to a guy's advantage, this pandemic, because I don't know how it works in your household, Mark. I know you do much of the cooking, but I don't know if you do the shopping.
Majority.
Now, we do virtually no cooking in this house. What cooking is almost all done by my wife. I love to grocery shop. She won't let me. All right. And we don't do it together. For whatever reason, she can't handle me in a grocery store.
You an every aisle guy?
Yes.
Thank you.
It's real simple. You just go pick an end. And we start to the left or start to the right. I really don't care. Make no difference to me. I'm going to hit every aisle once.
You got to go produce first, David. You got to work your way to the frozen. That's all that matters.
Fine. Whatever you say, does not matter to me. Honestly, I'm hitting every aisle once. If I miss something, that's on me. It was in front of me at one point in time. I missed it. But, and this could be a sexist thing, but guys buy bigger quantities. We just look at it, and if it's a choice between medium or large, well, we go big. And for many a year, my guess is that's been an issue in your household. You come home and they go, well, we don't need it that size. That's too big. We're going to waste it, this, that, and the other thing. Until we had a worldwide pandemic. Now I go to the grocery store. I come back. Suddenly, you got the
family size. Good job.
Yes, exactly. Of Oreos, of peppermint patties, of toilet paper, whatever. I came home, the first time with like 412 of them. Yes, right. Yeah, yes. This is how I shop. You know that. And this is just at Publix, not even a Costco. No.
Well, you don't have a choice at Costco, David. I mean, this just in. You're only getting bulk.
Right. But I don't go there.
No, I
do my bulk shopping at a so-called normal place where, look at him. Look at the size of the stuff that he buys. Yes, I'm a guy. We go big. Would you like a medium soda or a large? I would like a huge.
No, I mean, we are the, really, if you think about it, David, we are the generation that embraced the super big gulp.
Yes.
The big gulp was not enough. And I remember the Big Gulp coming out and thinking the Big Gulp was the greatest thing that had ever been put to the American public.
Mark, it was so big I thought it was an apartment.
And if you recall, at least at my 7-Eleven, the early Big Gulp, there was no self-serve fountain. They got you the Big Gulp.
Right.
The 7-Eleven cashier got you the Big Gulp. And when that wasn't enough, what did they give you? Super Big Gulp. And I remember being in high school, early college, playing cards with my buddies. We'd get the Super Big Gulp Moulton style. No ice.
Yep. There you go. I wept first time I saw a Super Big Gulp. I did. Man, this is such a great country. Look at this. They thought the Big Gulp wasn't enough, and they were right. Of all the things that I have wished for in my life, I wished for this, and it came true. I mean, you ask for big things, Cubs winning the World Series, things like that. That stuff didn't seem attainable at that point in time. But you thought maybe somebody could go one size up, and they did. So I don't know if you're finding out that your shopping habits may not have worked for the first however many years of your relationship. But now that it's a pandemic and you're bringing home the, hey, if you can fit it in the car, that's the kind of size I want, all of a sudden, I'm a hero.
There's no doubt. Cases of wine are more important right now than a couple of bottles. You're not getting in trouble for bringing home extra. We're bringing extra to the show today. We're not quitting on a Friday. We're not mailing it in.
No.
Not at all. We'll talk some NASCAR next hour. Bob Pockgrass joins us. Lou Merlone will join us at 8 o'clock. Talk a little baseball and a little Red Sox. And Patricia Trania from Giants Country. We'll talk a little football. So there we go. NASCAR, baseball, football. We got it all covered.
And we're buying a bag of chips the size of Rhode Island.
That's all next on Miller and Moulton. Thanks for listening. Fox Sports Radio. Oh, Nick, there's no doubt that the Circle K Polar Pop is the best value out there. But you just advanced from the Super Big Gulp to everybody having fountain soda. I'm talking circa 1989, 1990.
Or call 239-332-1441. License number CCC 1326954.
The Big Gulp beer at Hammond Stadium? Wow, I don't even remember that.
We just want to take a moment to tell you, we miss it too. We miss the crack of the bat, the banging of trash cans. We miss the dunks.
Slams it home for two.
The left turns.
Look how close it is for the lead.
Oh, yeah, you are right. I don't know if I could carry the Circle K mug. Like, I think you need a dolly to get that damn thing back to your car. And also, Miller Moulton fan, I'm going to say this, and I mean it. The double gulp is too big. It's too effing big. Super Big Gulp I'm okay with. The double gulp is just too much. As I swill 14 cups of coffee in 3 hours.
We're not just there for you.
We're there with you.
We don't want you to turn to Wink News just because you know us.
We want you to turn to Wink News because we earned your trust. Wink News.
This is Brian Creel here with my son Trace from Creel Tractor Company. We are open for business and taking all precautions necessary. We have teamed up with Kubota Tractor offering curbside pickup for your parts and parts delivery. And the service department is open and ready to assist with any repairs here or at your location. Kubota is offering discounts for all your Kubota products. And
you saw my tweets at Devitt?
Creel Tractor. Dig up a great deal at Creel.
That's what happens when the wife takes a cute picture of the dog and I'm on the second bottle of wine. I don't need pizza rolls served any particular way. I just sometimes start tweeting.
And all of Southwest Florida. 105.9 Fox Sports Radio. We are Fox Sports. Here's what's trending now.
I don't think I literally don't think I ever ordered a double gulp. I know I had shit tons of Super Big Gulps, and I'm with you. I don't drink soda anymore either. Did you do double gulps ever?
No, they're
too big.
They are a little big, but
they're a little big. The double gulp. It's 128 ounces of soda, and he just said it's a little bit too big.
Only a little bit, though. It's not as big as you think.
A little bit.
It's just a little bit. Just a little bit.
Oh, looks like Gail got the memo from Wink. She's going all yellow this morning as well.
They color coordinating this morning?
We just went to the National. Your world in 90 seconds. Kids are in danger.
They are.
I know.
They are?
Yeah, they've had the rare, they're gonna.
Oh, yeah.
I think three kids died, so we were gonna shut down the world for another 2 or 3 years.
Yep, that's it. Miller.
This could end the bro.
It's
It's a little bit too big.
Because
there is nobody worse at the bro hug than one David Moulton.
And Moulton.
I used to be. 2019.
Oh, Billis with his Throwback Friday, a Len Bias reverse dunk.
All guests appear on the Goldberg Noon Abraham hotline. Goldberg-law.com.
Oh, I like it. It's up to you now. It's up to you. I like it. Now, the best local sports show this town has ever heard. Here's Miller and Moulton.
You're live.
Approaching a couple minutes past 7 o'clock. Top of the morning to you. How the heck are you? We are Miller and Moulton. This is Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio, streaming at foxsportsfm.com and broadcasting live on the Miller and Moulton YouTube and Twitch TV channels. 479-5551 is how you can chime into the show via the Williamson Brothers Marine and Roofing text and talk line. 479-5551. We never did get to a poll question. I think I have one.
Good.
I don't know if you'll like it, but I think I have one. But first, how did yesterday's turn out?
It was hockey. The question was, which of these is most likely to happen? NHL, NBA, and MLB cancel season. 54% said NHL.
Right, that was my vote. That the most likely season to be canceled between hockey, basketball, and baseball is hockey. So baseball still negotiating. And remember, Adam Silver said mid-May was when they were going to, sit down and figure out. They were going to announce, okay, this is what we're doing. Well, today is the 15th.
Well, on Monday he did say in the next 2 to 4 weeks they'll have answers. I mean, the one mistake and we're critical because it's partly what we do, but the one mistake Silver and anyone has made, with the exception really of baseball and NASCAR and the UFC, because they've put dates out and they're having events. There is no sense putting a date out of any sort right now. Just keep using words like soon, in the future. Well, why put a date on it? Why say we're going to have an answer by mid-May? Because if we don't have all the answers we need to let you make your answer, then you look foolish. So we're going to give you an answer when we have enough information. Well, what's that information? Well, we need to know about how many tests we're able to get. Because the other backlash that I've seen people start with, the other side that we don't get into because we're on the sports side, but there is a lot of pushback on these leagues who are saying they're needing, you mentioned on your walk a couple of weeks ago. What was the number of tests that you thought football would need to do what they do properly?
I thought that they would need, oh boy.
But it was in the tens of thousands, right?
Oh, yeah. It might have even been like 150,000.
Yeah, okay. So we still have a testing problem in this country. Whether you want to recognize that or not, that's up to you. There is a lot of pushback from these leagues, and I'm starting to see very little of it, but you'll see more of it if they're going to, when they play, that these tests are coming from somewhere. I mean, they've got to go out and get tests that people are saying are being taken away from people that could actually need the tests. So we have to these leagues have to figure out what their testing policy is and how they're going to get tests. That is the very first thing that we have to come up with. And I've not seen the league, if they have a plan, they haven't given it to us.
No, that's not going to happen.
I mean, they keep talking about playing, and that's great. But
here's what I know I figured out. I mean, basically, I was just thinking about Fox and CBS. There's 256 NFL games. Well, between Sunday Night Football and Monday Night Football, if you take it away, you're looking at about 220 games left between, Sundays basically. Well, and Thursdays. So Fox has probably 110 games. CBS is like 100, I would say, on the average, something like that. Well, there's 70 employees per game. So, if you just do 70 times 100, and then that's how many, in theory, if you were testing everybody before every game, that's how many tests you'd have to. So what are we talking about? 7,500 tests if you're a Fox or a CBS to get through your NFL season. If you were testing everyone before every game, it's 7,500 tests. That's just for the NFL.
But that's just for the employees. We're not getting that's players too.
No.
That's what I mean. This is just CBS
that's
and
just
Fox.
For the network.
Right. That's
for
the
networks.
And again, then they're going to players. I saw someone else come up with what I thought was a really interesting comment. The NBA comes back. We're in the finals. We're testing every game. After game 1, LeBron James tests positive.
Oh, wow.
Sitting out 14 days, or are we holding off the finals for 14 days?
Well, it depends on the league. Like baseball announced in Rob Manfred talking about some of their protocols. He went on CNN, I think Anderson Cooper, Dr. Gupta, and they were talking about the testing and what is it you're going to do. They basically asked the same thing. If somebody tests positive, are they out of commission for 14 days? And his answer was not necessarily. All right, that yes, immediately they'd be taken out of the equation, but then they would be monitored. And I guess their formula is going to be, if you have back-to-back tests where you're negative, you're back in the rotation. So if that takes 14 or however many days, fine. But if by chance you test positive and 8 days later you test negative, and then on the 9th day you also test negative, they're putting you back in.
Okay, I'm not arguing with his policy. I love the fact that he has one. Because everybody else's policy has been how we're going to play games. No one has given you and I the one answer that we've been looking for, and Manfred did there.
Yes.
It's the first commissioner that has given us an honest answer as to what their plan is when a player tests positive, because we all know that players will test positive.
Remember when we had David Sampson on much earlier in the week, and he said, listen, these are all the questions that need to be answered. These are all the protocols that they're going to have to address. And it sounded like minutia at times, but he was systematically going almost line by line for just one part of the pregame, get them to the ballpark, how you get them on the field, and working out before the game scenario. And apparently Manfred and baseball have done all of that. It's like 60 pages. They've got it all mapped out, and that's what they're talking with the union about first. They're going to leave the money to the end because, well, that's where the real disagreement's going to be.
Well, and, David Sampson, Seth happened to be in our chat room when David Sampson was on. And Seth is typing frantically during that going, he is right. Everything he is saying. I mean, it's the first time I've seen Seth be positive about coming back, if you know what I mean. Now his complaint was, and I think he has a very just complaint, is how many of the players will actually follow the guidelines. That is where his criticism has been throughout. And I think it's a very valid criticism as someone who spent 15 years riding buses with players. They're very much on routine, but some of the rules that are there, I don't know how they will handle them. Pat Kerwin yesterday on the show made a lot of the same comments when it comes to football. How do you get in the training room, the locker rooms? How are we going to have distancing in and around practices? There are so many questions that come up. Pat was the first one to say it. And my wife asked me last night, she goes, hey, are they going to make all these guys wear a full face shield? I said, funny you should say that. Pat Kerwin mentioned it last week on our show that it's already being talked about. And I think first off, to me, they have to.
So to protect the eyes, like the first half of the face mask, if you will, from the bridge of the helmet to the top of your bar.
Oh, I don't know, to the top of the bar or maybe to the chin strap.
Well, I mean,
like an eye tech in hockey.
Breathe.
Yeah, I know. But they have full face shields in hockey that have holes in them.
Well, but to me, it almost defeats the purpose to have a hole in it.
Well, I mean you see
have the shield. But
you see what they wear Well, you maybe don't because you don't go to Costco. A lot of the employees that have basically it's open at the chin.
Okay.
So it comes down and
Gotcha.
it's
So in
open
other words,
underneath. Basically, it would prevent spit getting in your face, David.
Right.
I don't think it would prevent the breathing, but it's going to prevent basically liquids from coming from another player into your eyes or mouth.
Well, it'd be interesting if they do that, obviously. You know, some players wouldn't like it. You know, in hockey, there were, when the helmet started being expanded, but also the eye shield started coming in, some players just couldn't play with it for whatever reason. It bothered them. It thought it affected their vision. Some even thought it affected their breathing, which I didn't quite understand. But, you know, players are creatures of habit, and they certainly want their comfort. You know, that's why they oftentimes bring certain equipment from team to team. They go, no, this is my equipment. No, I'm going to wear these shoulder pads with this team. Also, these are my shoulder pads. Thank you very much.
Hey, look, I'm not a professional athlete. I was never anywhere close. But just when it comes to those face shields, I tried one time to wear. I played a little. I played hockey, and I wasn't any good. But I tried one time to wear that full eye tech mask. As you know, if you've listened to the show, David, I run hot. But you had, this is just high school. But you had a full cage that was open. Or you had people who were wearing the eye tech that you could see clearly through, but they steamed up. They're hot. I mean, the difference of a player who's never worn one to put something on, your body temperature is going to go up quite a bit. And as you made the point, players are creatures of habit. You start trying to tell them that they've got to wear certain equipment that they've never worn before. I mean, they'll do it. They'll adapt, but it will be very uncomfortable.
Yeah, and it will be hot. There's no question. I mean, especially for camp in the early part of the season when it is hot. Yeah, no doubt about it. 479-5551, 479-5551. It's how you can chime in by the Williamson Brothers Marine and Roofing text and talk line. Here's what I was thinking of for a poll question, because to me, this also is looming out there with baseball. NASCAR is going to start up Sunday. NASCAR is not a sport for the masses. NASCAR is a love it or hate it oftentimes sport. Either you like racing or you don't. But we haven't had sports. I mean, much like we asked people on Monday, hey, did you watch UFC 249 at all? And the one part of it that we didn't get into that I think we're going to need to get into more, and the same with Sunday for those that are going to turn on NASCAR, is sports without fans. How was it for you? You know, Joe Buck, much was made of an interview that he did on Wednesday in which he said, hey, Fox is looking into piping in crowd noise because that's the fan experience that you're used to sitting at home watching the games. And that without it, you miss it. And so, yes, it's one of the things that we're looking of doing. And it drew a big reaction. And we're hoping to have Joe on next week to talk about it. And, how many people who watched UFC 249 last weekend or watched the UFC event Wednesday night, you can clearly hear what the corner people are saying. I mean, in so much so the fighters can hear the broadcasters give fight strategy during the rounds. And some of the fighters have acknowledged they've heard it and changed their tactics based on what an announcer was saying.
That's crazy. That is nuts. And I heard Joe said this on Real Sports, and I don't know when they recorded that, but Joe said it. It was he and Nance and Mike Breen and Brian Gumbel there all in their discussion. And he said, well, I think they're going to have to pump in crowd noise. And the three other faces, I mean, you want your 6 seconds, David? Watch the Real Sports when he says that, and all the eyes go up like, did he really just say that?
Yeah.
And because that was Joe's point was, I don't know. And, because I heard the interview and it was great. I don't know. He was, when you make that big call to have no crowd noise behind that, for that moment in the game to have no noise, that just would be surreal to me.
And he got into it in further detail in subsequent interviews in which he said, listen, I turn my headphones up loud. He goes, I want the noise of the game loud. And he said, because I need my call to make sure that it is at least of a volume level that it can carry over what is going on. And so, now we're all different. Like, I don't like my headphones loud. Some broadcasters do. I don't.
Right. You and I are total opposites.
Right. Mark likes, Mark's headsets are loud. Mine are not. All right. Joe said I'm a loud headset guy, and I broadcast accordingly. But you're right. There have been a lot of people in the industry that have kind of looked at, Joe and kind of tilted their head like a dog, like, huh? Really? That's what you and Fox are thinking of doing. And so one of the things that I'm curious about is, in any of the sports that you're going to watch here, I'm guessing all of it's going to be without crowd noise. Well, what's it like? And for those that watched UFC 249, what did you think? I have heard a couple of wrestling people, and I understand that it's not sports, that's entertainment, but there were people who bought the big WWE event in April, in which they said, without the crowd, they did the best they could, but it really wasn't, it was, without the big stadium, 50,000+ people crowd, it was pretty so. And so that's one thing that I'm throwing out there. But the second thing is more, Mark, how many people you think on Sunday are just going to flip on NASCAR for a little bit who otherwise would never flip on NASCAR?
I think quite a few.
And I was wondering if that would be the poll question. Just, do you envision yourself, or maybe we save that for Monday after the race, hey, did you watch it all? But I'm just wondering, because let's face it, we haven't had sports. I mean, aren't we going to have a golf match this weekend? Isn't this the Rory McIlroy Fowler? Isn't this
Is that this weekend?
I thought that's this weekend, and it's on NBC on Sunday. And then the following weekend is, Peyton and Tiger and Phil and TB12 on Turner. But I think it's called The Match.
Yes.
And it's Rory and Ricky and a couple JT.
DJ's one of them, I think.
And I don't even know what they're playing for, but they threw something together, and I think NBC's got it on Sunday. And so obviously, I mean, we're going to have sports with no fans, which also means no fan noise, no crowd noise at these things. I mean, not that there's a ton of noise on a consistent basis at a golf tournament, but when somebody hits one stiff, you get a reaction. And instead, somebody's going to fire a dart to about 2 feet and nothing.
And I'm fine with golf that way, I guess, because I play. So crowd noise in golf will mean nothing to me. But football, basketball, baseball, hockey, stick and ball sports, David. Like NASCAR, crowd noise doesn't affect anything about the sport. You know what I mean? Like, a driver doesn't panic because they're yelling while we went from yellow to green.
Right. So
it doesn't have, to me, has zero effect on the sport. I do think crowds can affect other sports from time to time. Defense can, a crowd can get an offense to jump. A crowd can get a free throw shooter to perhaps miss.
Well, the other thing that can come of this is, these networks have gotten so good at televising sports, and they have so much equipment now on or near the field. If you don't have any crowd to block out the sounds of the actual sport of the game, I mean, the conversations that these microphones could pick up could be astounding. I mean, you might actually be able to, first off, you will hear a quarterback so clear as day at the line of scrimmage, but I think you'll be able to hear the center talking to the guard, the center talking to the quarterback. You'll be able to hear whoever the defensive signal caller is switch their call. I mean, without crowd noise, this could be a remarkable viewing experience.
Just on that note, just for football alone, would the league tell its network partners we've got to cut down the effects noise because other teams are going to be able to sit and decipher everything that's going on.
Absolutely.
While it would be great for and maybe after the year's over, we can give you some clips, or we're going to have to let teams hear it. Because to me, when I heard you speaking, I thought, boy, Bill Belichick is going to spend a lot of time listening to this stuff.
They all are. But yes,
I was having a little fun. But you know the greater point is that you can't allow that. In today's world, I don't think you can allow that. You'd be giving away state secrets.
Yep. Now, football is still intending on having people in the stands, even if it's some. And believe it or not, some crowd noise would help eliminate many of the big problems. But if it's an empty stadium, I mean, I've jokingly told the story, Mark, you've told a story or two in which, you did a hockey broadcast before family and friends, basically, in which your big booming voice and the sound, and it was ricocheting through this empty arena. And, I talked about the baseball game I did in which the home plate umpire turned when I disagreed with a, close
so
pitch
great
on the corner.
God, that's great.
I mean, but you could see where if you have an empty stadium, and you could see you don't have to necessarily be ringside at the Octagon at a UFC. I mean, Joe and Troy could be heard from where they are as well at the 50-yard line at Texas Stadium.
What will happen that's never happened to you before, if they're playing at 25% crowds, the first 8 rows in front of Troy and Joe are going to be able to hear them. That was always my favorite on the road, is that there were some stadiums in which the visiting fans actually really enjoyed having you there. Like they thought, I get all the names. This is good. And then there are other ones, Richmond, Virginia, where the fans literally would want to fight me every time I broadcasted a game there.
It's the same way in the NFL, too. There are actually some places that you would think are really bad. Like, you'd be shocked. The Philly fans are great to Joe and Troy.
Troy?
Yes. You would think they'd be all over Troy. And actually, I think it's as the years went by, they appreciated his talents and what they did more and more. So they'd give him a hard time, but they always did it in a good-natured way. Green Bay, meanwhile, nasty place. Those Packers fans do not like those two at all. They don't hide it. They do not hide it. So it will be interesting because it can work also the other way. If they're only going to allow X number of people in, you might, remember we joked about the Marlins weekday games in which if there was one loud fan behind home plate that so many microphones picked them up. And there was one game that we were watching in our first act in which you could hear this one fan heckle everybody. From the umpire to the players to the Marlins manager, he was heckling everybody, and he was funny. But you heard everything he said throughout the whole game because there was virtually nobody behind the plate.
I've been guilty of it at a Rays game. Who was the player there that threatened to beat up his wife in that phone call? And I can't recall his name, but he came to the plate, and I very loudly went, "Don't worry, he'll only threaten to hit it." And the trop.
Right.
And boy, oh boy, did some head turn when I said that. I went, ooh, that was a good one.
Yeah, well, I mean, the game was being played in a library, so I could see where that, would draw a little attention. But so it could work that way as well. But that's kind of what I'm throwing out there as the poll question to kind of linger for the weekend. See if you like it or come up with something different. But Miller and Moulton. Speaking of NASCAR.
Boogity, boogity, boogity.
Look at you, DW. My goodness. Wonder how many people miss him.
I do. I just want him for the start. Could care less about anything. They should pipe in boogity, boogity, boogity. Jeff Gordon, you can do the rest of the race. Give me the 3 boogities.
Back in the day, it never caught on as big, but for those of us that love college basketball, Bill Raftery, when he was not the number 1 guy, he doesn't do it hardly at all anymore. But when Bill was the number 2 or the number 3 guy and he'd let it loose a little bit more during his broadcast, his big thing was after the opening tip, the play-by-play would stop and go, Raft, and he would go, and so opens in man-to-man. That was his thing.
Man-to-man.
Man-to-man. That was his boogity, boogity, boogity. Bob Pockgrass covers NASCAR for Fox. He'll be kind enough to join us next. Miller and Moulton, Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
This is the Herd.
It was too late in the segment to answer your question, Hops.
My face is starting to look
But,
a little bit aged. Wouldn't hurt to try. So after 30 days.
Very interested in Tua in a premium pick
But
getting a quarterback.
would it be equal for both teams or favor the home team? I think they would have to make it equal with the exception of Atlanta. Atlanta would have crowd noise just booming when their defense is on the field, and it would be silent when their offense is on the field. That about right?
FoxSportsFM.com.
Missed that, David?
Well, yeah, if they're piping.
I'm joking. No, he says, will it be the same for both teams? I said, I think it would have to be. I said, with the exception of Atlanta. Maybe the Vikings.
Want to help you navigate your vision challenges with an intelligent solution. Well, they've been piping in crowd noise in Minnesota forever.
And Atlanta as well.
Not only be the first in Southwest Florida, and the Vikings always used to deny it. And those of us would be on the sidelines for the game going, are you kidding me?
But this is what I wanted. This is what I've been waiting for these cars to come off of this corner. And guys, it's showtime. Boogity, boogity, boogity. Ooh, let's go racing today, boys.
Love it. I absolutely love it. And I think Gordon does a terrific. I think Gordon's way better than DW in the booth. But the start of the race made it's how the heck are you? It makes me smile every morning.
Want to play it for Bob Pockgrass?
Hell yes, I do. I don't like that one though. I need a better boogity boogity.
I thought that was pretty good.
All right.
Naples Nissan. You can test drive hundreds of previously loved cars, trucks, and SUVs in one spot. Toyota, Ford, Chevy, Mazda, you name it, we got it. And hey, what's the best part about outlet shopping? That's right, you save tons of money. Over 300 vehicles, wholesale priced, and all backed by our exclusive unlimited mile lifetime warranty. That's a warranty that lasts forever. And that's accepted anywhere in the USA. We've got at least 100 cars you could drive home right now for.
How do you want to say are we watching racing, or do you want to say, or is it a crowd noise question?
We got you covered there.
No,
too.
I just are you going to watch?
All new giant used car outlet at Naples Nissan, right here on Pine Ridge Road. That's exit 107 off I-75, or visit Naples.
We've gone 2 months.
You own a home with a tile or shingle roof? You live
Free,
in Charlotte,
live,
Marco Island?
because at least.
Hello, I'm Jimmy Williamson with Williamson Brothers Roofing. If you answered yes,
basically,
to
it's
either
been 2
question,
months.
Very likely your roof suffered damage from Hurricane Irma that's not visible from the ground, and you may very well be entitled to a new roof for little or no money out of pocket. But you only have a 3-year window to make a claim, and time is running out. If you have a tile or shingle roof and live between Port Charlotte and Marco Island, call us.
Just trying to see if people are like, yeah, hell, at this rate, I'll take anything.
It's a free, no obligation inspection that can benefit you in the form of a new roof. Williamson Brothers Roofing, we deal with the insurance carrier for you. Call us at 239-283-2013. Again, time is running out.
I went with this weekend, free live sports on TV returns with NASCAR. Are you going to watch? Can't wait. I'll probably watch some. No interest.
You go.
I'm a busy person. Catch the show
anytime.
Check out Miller and Moulton.
How much time we got left?
About a minute.
You know what? I can't play that because I got to do the phone call, David.
Gotcha. Okay.
Son of a biscuit.
That's fine.
Dan Martineau here.
Don't be a spreader.
He's not. He's a roofer.
I know.
Call us today for a free inspection. Google DRM Roofing or call 239-33.
Miss Bob, can I help you?
Good morning, Bob. Mark Miller and David Moulton in Florida. How are you this morning?
Good, Mark. How are you?
I am very good. Thank you so much for your time. We're going on in about 15 seconds.
All right.
David will go first. Are you excited? You ready for this?
Yes, sir.
I am
Yes,
too.
sir.
I'm not a huge NASCAR guy, and I'm ready. I just told David.
right.
I told David before the break. The only thing I miss is DW. I just want a boogity this weekend. Just get him back for the start of the race.
I'll do my best.
Shower is a family-owned and operated business and has the highest ratings on the Angie's List and Home Advisor. Want to see more? Go to myshowerdoor.com.
Now back to Miller and Moulton. No. This is Miller and Moulton. You're live.
7:30 on the nose. Miller and Moulton, thanks so much for being with us. Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio, streaming at foxsportsfm.com. And you can check out the show and watch it and chime in during the breaks on, well, the Miller and Moulton YouTube and Twitch TV channels. Bob Pockras is kind enough to join us once again from Fox Sports. He covers NASCAR, and he's going back to work this weekend. Darlington. You can follow Bob on Twitter at Bob Pockras. Bob, first off, thanks for your time. Secondly, you and everybody around you are still safe? Everybody doing well?
Everybody's doing well. Thank you.
Okay. And third, are you going to be at the race? I mean, how many media are they allowing to be in Darlington?
Well, Fox Sports has a limited number of people at Darlington. Regan Smith is going to be the only reporter there, pit reporter there. The studio or Jeff Gordon, Mike Joy, Larry McReynolds will be in the booth. So there will be 4 quote unquote like print or internet type reporters who can only go to the press box. And those will rotate. So I won't be going to Darlington, but they're keeping out virtually all reporters all the reporters will be out, won't be allowed in the garage. They can only go to the press box, and then there's like 2 or 3 designated photographers who can go into the garage. So they're pretty strict. Like, look, there are only 2 officials who will actually go from the garage to the scoring tower to help officiate the race, and those 2 officials will be in a separate booth than the other officials who are never in the garage. They're working hard to try to compartmentalize everybody so that if somebody does end up getting sick, that they can say, okay, this person was only in contact with as few people as possible.
Okay. What are they doing in terms of the teams and the drivers? And more importantly, have they given any information as to what they will do specifically if a driver were to test positive, or if any of the team members test positive, and how that is going to go?
Right. So they are going to, people have to come. They started like filling out forms about 5 days ago. They'll come and they'll get a temperature check. If they have over 100-degree temperature, they'll be sent over and with them to talk to medical personnel about any symptoms they have. And then the medical personnel will decide if that person can come in. People will be being screened like 6:30 a.m. for a 3:30 race. They have all the crews and teams staggered so that they don't all arrive at the same time. Drivers are just told to get there 4 hours before the race so that if for some reason they show a high fever and they're not allowed to race, that somebody else can get there soon enough in order to fill their spot. NASCAR will give drivers waivers, so if they do miss a race, it's not like they're out of the playoffs. And if somebody does come down with the virus afterward, they'll have logs of who they were with, and they'll ask them and anybody they were in contact with to self-quarantine for 14 days.
He's Bob Pockras. He covers NASCAR for Fox. Follow him on Twitter at Bob Pockras. All right, let's just get to the racing. These guys haven't been in a car in 10 weeks. I know some of them have done the simulator stuff and all that, but 10 weeks they haven't been in a car. And now of all the tracks they're going to start on, cold. No practice laps, no qualifying, nothing. Cold. It's the Lady in Black. I mean, this has got to be one of the biggest challenges of these guys' careers, right?
Yeah, I think it was Bubba Wallace who said it's the ultimate hold my beer moment, right?
Perfect for him to say, too.
Yeah, it's it won't be. It's certainly not easy. Totally green racetrack. They're not used to that. When they start a race, usually there's a lot of rubber down the track. That some drivers have even used the word timid, at those first few laps. Although I've never heard of a driver being timid, but maybe as timid as you can be going 150 miles per hour or so, right? So they'll do their. I think what they'll do, they got a competition caution at lap 30 where they can make several adjustments, and I think they will be. I wouldn't say timid, but they'll be careful. They'll be a little conservative just to get through those first 30 laps. And, and then hopefully they'll be able to get their car set up a little bit more to their liking.
Okay. In theory, that sounds really good. Give us your predictions of 2 or 3 guys who will break that. I mean, I have the guys in my head, but I mean, you mentioned Bubba Wallace. He would be my lead guy to say he would screw up the let's follow the leader for 30 laps. Who's most likely to not adhere to the, well, we're just going to wait and see until the competition caution at lap 30?
I may think like I think the young guys like Tyler Reddick, maybe Ryan Preece, who from his modified days is maybe used to more 30 to 50 lap races. I think those 2 guys might be a little bit and they just don't have the experience at Darlington that they need to kind of know what they what they can and can't do. And then I mean, gosh, if you're thinking about guys who maybe still have a lot of experience, part of you wants to say Kyle Busch, and then part of you will say, well, he's veteran enough to know better. But we know that sometimes being conservative isn't Kyle's forte.
Yeah, no question. Or Joey Logano.
Right.
That matter. There are a couple of great comeback stories in this race. Ryan Newman, after the horrific, terrifying crash at Daytona, and also Matt Kenseth out of retirement, which, Bob, I don't know your thoughts. I thought that was a brilliant move. First off, I hated the fact when he was forced into retirement. I thought he still had some good racing left in him. And I think it's great for a sponsorship standpoint. Plus, to me, a 40-something-year-old is not old when it comes to driving. I thought that was a brilliant move by Ganassi to bring Kenseth out of retirement.
Yeah, well, they brought somebody in who they felt could potentially win races. Obviously, somebody they felt that the sponsors would like. Somebody who's used to working with sponsors, somebody who has a fairly uncontroversial past, except for that thing with Logano, right? But he's somebody who can maybe bring some stability to the team when they need it, and also somebody who, granted it was 15 years ago, but somebody who's worked with Kurt Busch as well.
Well, and yeah, I love the fact that we say he's old, in his 40s. The way they cover this sport has always been, it's as transparent as any sport. When we get to talk to drivers right before the race, we talk to drivers during cautions. Are you hearing anything about the broadcast end that they will amp that up? Because there is an opportunity. I think we all understand that being first is great as long as things work out. And NASCAR's got a great opportunity to regain fans, to get new fans. How important do you think the conversations with the drivers and some of the extras that NASCAR's always given us are this weekend, when the potential for a few million people who have never watched a NASCAR race is there?
Well, I mean, I know we'll do the best we can, and it's certainly it's different. We only have one pit reporter there. Drivers are going to be in their motorhomes by themselves until they walk to the grid about 10 to 15 minutes before they fire the engine. So I think we're working on some things to try to bring as much information to the fans, and working on some things to try to have as much communication with teams and drivers as we can, but also following the health and safety guidelines, and that's going to be and obviously that's important to everyone. You talk about being on this, all eyes are on NASCAR. They first off, they need to follow the guidelines, for the reason the guidelines are there, for health. But then there's also going to be kind of a secondary, everybody's watching, and you don't want to not follow the guidelines and make it look like that you're not taking it seriously.
Were you surprised that NASCAR announced 12 races at 5 different locations yesterday before they've even run a lap in their return? I mean, I thought they might have waited till after Sunday and said, hey, it went so well, and then unveiled the future. Were you surprised at all? And also, any surprise at all with the tracks? Bristol, Atlanta, Martinsville, Homestead, and Talladega.
No, not surprised at all at the tracks, and not really all that surprised because teams need to get their sponsors aligned. They need to get start their car builds, like start now that cars are ready to go to Darlington and probably Charlotte. They need to know what cars they need to be working on next. So they needed that type of schedule. And also, there were several races that were postponed that hadn't officially been postponed. Kansas, Michigan. So those tracks needed answers too. So wasn't too surprised. They can only work though about a month out, I think, just because they just don't know what's going to happen in the other communities with the virus. It's hard to predict what their situations are going to be more than 4 weeks from now.
Well, I don't know if NASCAR, I'm sure they've thought about it. I don't know if they've given any sort of word of what they're going to do. But as we were talking about, David just kind of mentioned Talladega without fans would be really strange. But as, Wisconsin's talking about reopening on a much larger level than other states. What happens when they race somewhere that maybe has opened up? Will they let fans in if the state's allowing crowds, or is NASCAR going to control this and say no fans until we say fans?
I think NASCAR's working with the local officials because even though there's talk about opening up, there's still certainly large scale events are not as aren't always the first or even second thing. They're pretty much the last things to say go. And if you look at Indiana's plan, their plan allows for limited capacity sporting events on July 4, and the Brickyard 400 is July 5. So, I don't think there'll be fans at any of those events through June 21. The next race following that on the schedule is Pocono, and that area isn't an area yet that Pennsylvania has even started opening up. I think NASCAR will take their cues from health officials, but they need certainty from those officials that they can do it with they probably need about 3 or 4 week notice, I would think, in order to get everything set up to try to figure out who can come, because, is it the people that they've already sold tickets to? Do they say, okay, if you're a season ticket buyer at this track only? So I think they'd like to, but they're not going to just say, like a week before, say, hey, we can now have fans. So let's see what we can do.
Bob, thanks so much for your time and your insight. Stay safe, and hope to talk to you again soon.
All right, talk to you guys soon. Thanks.
Bob Pockrass, who covers NASCAR for Fox, and you can follow Bob on Twitter at Bob Pockrass. I don't know if you found it interesting, Mark, but I was curious, and maybe it's a little selfish, but I'm just, how many people are they going to allow from a media standpoint? NASCAR's got a ton of media. And Bob's like, yeah, 1 pit reporter.
4 reporters, and it alternates.
And 2 photographers. That's it.
Because I know that they make the rules up as they go sometimes, but as far as during the race, from a broadcast standpoint, I think NASCAR is the most transparent sport we have.
I don't think any sport's better covered than NASCAR.
So I'm eager to see what they're able to accomplish with limited broadcast abilities.
Now, Bob made it sound as if the 3 announcers were going to be at the track.
Mm-hmm.
I had been told that the 3 announcers were going to be in Charlotte. So that'll be interesting in and of itself, whether in fact they're high above or whether or not they're in a studio 100 miles away.
And David wanted to start out with this. I wanted to, but technology limits what we can do in these situations. In a pandemic, I cannot play sound and interview someone at the same time. I wanted to begin the interview with this.
It's showtime. Boogity, boogity, boogity. Ooh, let's go racing today, boys.
Now I feel better.
Are you fired up now?
I am. I'm gonna put that on a loop and just sit this break. Join us on Twitch while I listen to DW say boogity, boogity, boogity 67 times.
Maybe for the weekend I'll make it my ringtone.
Wow, wait a minute. DW ringtones. Get to break. I got stuff to do.
15 minutes before the hour. Today was the day when. Coming up. And then next hour, well, we keep on going. Lou Merlone, talk a little baseball, get his reaction to Blake Snell's comments. And about 45 minutes from now, Patricia Traina, she covers the Giants. Yeah, their first-round pick, one of them from a year ago. Yeah, he's wanted for 8 felonies.
Sorry, just the way that's not really that funny, but it just came out.
DeAndre Baker, along with Quentin Dunbar, Miramar Police, they want to talk to him. 4 counts of armed robbery, 4 counts of aggravated armed assault. Well, I don't know. That would seem to be a pickle where I come from. We'll talk to Patricia about it coming up. Miller and Moulton. Today was the day when. Next, Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
It's showtime! Boogity, boogity, boogity!
What the Packers have been able to do, and though it was ugly when it ended, is what the Niners did back with Montana.
Let's go racing, boys!
Oh, God, it's my so good. It's just so good.
Which is have a succession plan in place.
Having a conversation on the text line with the guy who says football audio may become TVMA. And I said, and hockey, and baseball, and basketball, and probably golf. And he made an interesting statement. Do you treat this like the Jordan documentary and have a TVMA station and a muted TVG station? Would be awesome. The whole thing is I don't think they can get away with it because of the signals that'll be out there. But he says some players could earn new fans once we get a chance to hear their real on-field trash talk. So speaking of which, I should forward you the article. A buddy of mine, old neighborhood friend, posted an article from the Free Press, interview with. They're doing this where they're bored, so they're doing Where Are They Now columns, and they did a whole article with Frank Tanana.
Okay.
And Tanana, when the early Tanana, pitches in the state championship. He's from Detroit. Pitches in the state final at Tiger Stadium and hurt his arm. And the Tigers knew it. So they didn't pick him. The Angels picked him.
Right.
And they didn't know. So he didn't think he was going to be a first-round pick. So anyhow, he's young, he's good. They got Ryan, they got Tanana. He comes to Detroit for the first time. And apparently the first time he pitched to Willie Horton, he put one out over the plate, and Willie took it right back up the middle and almost hit him in the head. He said, I've never been that scared on the mound in my life. He goes, so I knew I couldn't pitch it out over the plate. He goes, so I threw it up and in 3 times. And Horton, I don't know if you remember Willie Horton, but he's a big man.
Yeah, big man. Yeah.
So Willie comes out to the mound and doesn't charge it, walks out, starts pointing at him. Bench is clear. They throw out Houck and they throw out Horton. And as they're going back to the dugout, Tanana smirks at Horton. Benches come again. Horton gets up in Tanana's face in the chest. He goes, listen, you're too young to be messing with me. And pokes him in the chest 3 times. Tanana says, I could still feel it the next day. Hi, Susie. Oh, really? I thought you were going to grow them out. You're not? Okay, well, I'll cut them soon then. Are your bangs too long? All right, well, we can do it during a commercial break if you want. We'll do it on air live. I'll shave your head if you want me to. Okay.
I'll shave your head.
If you want me to.
We really care about improving people's lives.
She left the studio pretty quickly.
Dr. Spalding and Dr. Spatafor really do care about helping people, and we're so glad they helped us.
They're excited. We share in that excitement. It makes us feel great about what we do.
Hi, this is Dr. Scheibel from Community Eye Center. My partner, Dr. Spatafor, and I want to remind everybody, don't be a spreader. The coronavirus is so tiny, 100 million particles fit on the head of a pin. As we run around in our trucks and cars and play golf and go fishing and go to work and do the things we like to do, we are spreading the virus. The virus can only move with us. Over 65, diabetes, COPD, all these folks will be hurt severely by this virus. Wash your hands. Be careful. Don't be a spreader.
Don't be a spreader.
Don't be a spreader.
Dr. Mark here. Heat pumps take heat out of the air and put it in your pool. They cost less to run than gas heaters, and you won't have panels on your roof. Special pricing, rebates, and free on-site evaluations. We're a family company. And for over 40 years, we've been doing business right.
The prescription is the Pool Doctor for award-winning pool service, repairs, and unheard of $39 diagnostic calls. That's mypooldoctor.com or 239-574-1133.
State certified CPC 057088.
This is Brian Creel here with my son Trace from Creel Tractor Company. We are open for business and taking all precautions necessary. We have teamed up with Kubota Tractor offering curbside pickup for your parts and parts delivery. And the service department is open and ready to assist with any repairs here or at your location. Kubota is offering discounts on parts for all your Kubota products and no payments for 90 days on new products. Creel Tractor. Dig up a great deal at Creel.
Right now, get 0% financing and no payments for 90 days. Offer expires May 31st. Visit KubotaUSA.com for full disclaimer.
Creel Tractor since 1972.
Here we go. Now back to Miller and Moulton. No. This is Miller and Moulton.
You're live.
Miller and Moulton, Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio, 9 minutes before the top of the hour. Thanks so much for being with us. Our poll question this weekend: free live sports returns to television with NASCAR. Are you going to watch? We give you three choices. Can't wait. I'll watch some. Yeah, no interest. Right now, no interest with the majority of the vote, 58%. And Mark and I think it is fascinating, interesting, that if you think about it before, whether it's basketball, hockey, baseball, whether they come back or start back up, what three sports do we have? We have UFC, we have NASCAR, and we have golf. Three big four, three non-stick and ball sports, if you will. And so will the normal mainstream sports fan watch UFC, NASCAR, and or golf when normally they don't? Will be an interesting little experiment that goes on here over the next few weeks.
It truly is. And NASCAR, because their broadcasts have always been so good, I think has a great opportunity. But based on the early results of our poll, if you didn't like NASCAR before, you're not watching it on Sunday.
We'll see. We shall see. 8 minutes before 8 o'clock. Time now for
Miller and Moulton's Today Was the Day When, giving you the history of today's date so you're a beacon of useless knowledge around the office.
Useless, but a lot of fun to talk about.
This is Today Was the Day When. Fox Sports Radio and FoxSportsFM.com.
Great day in our nation's history today. 1905, the city of Las Vegas was founded in Nevada.
There we go.
Yep.
A little something for the effort right there. Well done.
1912, Ty Cobb on the road against the Highlanders rushes a heckler and is suspended.
There we go.
That's the kind of baseball I like.
Yep. Good to see. Good. Highlanders, they were the precursor to the Yankees, right?
Yes.
That was in New York.
1918, Senator Walter Johnson. I just love these stats. He won a 1-0 game in 18.
Right. Went the distance, huh?
He went the distance. He pitched 2 complete games.
Yep, that's what they did back then. By the way, when he says senator, he's not talking about congressman, senator. That's the Washington Senators.
1940, Richard and Maurice McDonald opened the first McDonald's restaurant in San Bernardino, California.
80 years ago?
80 years ago.
Wow.
Does that make your dinner choice easier tonight, David?
Do you think it'll be strange if I pull into the drive-thru and go, happy anniversary?
Yes, they will have no idea. Today in 1941, Yanks lose 13-1, but Joe D starts his 56-game hitting streak today.
There you go.
1953, in his first title defense, Rocky Marciano KO's former champion Jersey Joe Walcott in the first round at the Chicago Stadium. 1973, Nolan Ryan's first no-hitter against Kansas City, 3-0.
First of 7.
Yeah, 1981, David, the Harlem Globetrotters on Gilligan's Island airs. It seems unfathomable that shows like that were even on television. Lost was one thing, but Gilligan's Island with the Globetrotters is quite another.
Right. So how'd they get there? And B, well, can't everybody just leave the island with them?
Correct. It's not like the surfer episode when he just caught the big wave and left the island.
Because otherwise, wouldn't they then be on all the subsequent episodes?
Right. 1990 was that epic Stanley Cup final game. Edmonton beats the Bruins in the third overtime as Peter Klima scores the game winner. The Alamo Dome opens today in San Antonio, Texas in 1993, and the Expos on that same day retire their first number. Do you know who it was, David?
Was it Le Grand Orange?
Yes,
was
it
Rusty
was.
Staub?
The number 10 for Rusty Staub. If you were born today, you share your birthday with George Brett, celebrating his 67th birthday today. Dan Patrick is 64. Melly Mel from Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five. David, I know you're a big fan. He's 59 today. John Smoltz is 53. Emmett Smith, 51. Desmond Howard hits the big 5-0 today. Ray Lewis is 45. Ryan Leaf, remember him? He is 44 today. Josh Beckett is 40. And Andy Murray is 33 years old today. That is today was the day when on this 15th of May.
Quite a few people. Ryan Leaf, by the way, you want to talk about how when you think you're down and out and you can still come back, and also how forgiving we are as a society. I mean, Ryan Leaf, not only on the field, off the field, complete and utter train wreck.
Yeah, and ended up
in
stealing
prison?
pills, going to jail, and now is clean and sober, has been for a while, doing radio work, and he's made a complete turnaround.
Network television and beginning to get prominent assignments with ESPN. Absolutely. So it's remarkable. He's finally achieving in broadcasting what they thought he was going to achieve as a quarterback. Miller and Moulton.
Great hour still ahead on the show. Lou Merlone will join us coming up next to talk a little baseball and a little Red Sox. A shortened season could prove advantageous for those in Boston. We discussed that yesterday. We'll do it with Lou Merlone next. Miller and Moulton, Fox Sports Radio.
Is open and we're here to help. Over 400 vehicles in stock. New 2020 Kia Forte LXS lease. 0 down. $149 per month. That's right. A new Kia for $149 per month with 0 down. Plus at Galliana Kia in Fort Myers, you can drive payment-free for 4 months, interest-free for up to 75 months, and worry-free for 100,000 miles. Plus prepaid gas for up to a year. Our parts service and body shop.
So just got a tweet from a guy, Tommy, who said, the hunger right now for live sports is so much that I actually think people are going to watch NASCAR who don't normally. And he said, I'm actually watching this Korean baseball.
I have it on right now. I put it on because the guy from the Big Lead every morning always tweets out something that's going on in the game, and it reminds me as I'm looking at Twitter that it's on, and I'm done watching the news. I can't watch news anymore.
Right.
It's the same damn thing over, and that's what the Groundhog Day is.
And this guy, Tommy, said what he has noticed about the Korean baseball, a lot of bat flips. How about that?
Yeah, they actually been sending things out on that, or highlights with bat flips. I got 3 texts, or 3 tweets. One from Dorsey, what's NASCAR? One from this, whoever K is. Will Kyle Larson be providing his riveting commentary? F NASCAR. And Stan says, I can't sit and watch a race, but I'll gladly bet on it. Now I just need to know what I'm betting on. And Stan, I'm with you.
Kyle Busch, by the way, that's who you bet on.
Well,
you bet
but
on
what? And
Kyle flipping Busch.
I screwed. I wanted to ask
Pockras
that. Hey, what type of things can I bet on? I mean, can I bet on the first 30 laps? Can I bet on, which Busch will finish? I mean, there's got to be a bunch of prop bets. That's what I want to see.
I don't know if he's aware of it.
Well, he better be. It's gambling, for Christ's sake. It's all that matters. Probably should call our guest. Come on. Jesus, come on now.
Don't be a spreader. Oh, sorry.
Good morning, Lou. Mark Miller and David Moulton. Good. How you doing, man?
Pretty good.
We are going on here in about 20 seconds. David will go first. I will go second. Thanks, as always, for your time.
You got it.
I used to be. 2019, I found my bro hug groove.
Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
All guests appear on the Goldberg Noon Abraham hotline. Goldberg-law.com.
Yes! Oh, I like
It's up to you now. It's up to you.
I like it.
Now, the best local sports show this town has ever heard. Here's Miller and Moulton.
You're live.
Thanks for waking up with us. Miller and Moulton, Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio, streaming at foxsportsfm.com and broadcasting live our Miller and Moulton on our very own YouTube and Twitch TV channels. Patricia Traina, talk a little Giants. So they got a first-round pick who's wanted for 8 felonies. Never mind. Lou Merloni, meanwhile, covers the Red Sox and talks sports on WEEI in Boston and NBC Sports in Boston. You can follow Lou on Twitter at Lou Merloni. Lou, first off, thanks for your time. Secondly, how are you and your family doing during all this?
Well, like everybody else, sort of sitting around and going day to day and trying to find new things to do around the house. So it's I just got a 10-year-old boy, so it makes it interesting.
Well, there's no doubt that homeschooling thing has been a lot of fun for a lot of us. Lou, before we get into things Boston and sports, I know you're not afraid to bet on an occasional game. Since there is NASCAR this weekend, and it is the only live sports we have going, will you watch and or gamble on the NASCAR race Sunday?
I think I might dabble in it a little bit. I'm not going to lie to you. Just because at this point, like, I can't take watching games that I've already know the outcomes. I've watched UFC the last couple nights. I need it, and I'm going to enjoy it. And I tell you what, I am not a NASCAR guy, but I will sit down and I'll watch a little bit of this. And I'll put some cash on.
And MLB Network yesterday was airing parts of the 75 World Series. So, Lou, I'm with you about games that we already know the outcome of. First off, I had a theory about baseball and the proposed 82 games and whether it gets bumped up to 100 or whatever the shortened season's going to be if we have one. That I think for teams like the Red Sox, it might help them. With the injury to Sale and some of the losses that they had during the offseason, trading away of bets, I didn't think a team like Boston could make the playoffs with only 5 playoff spots over 162 games. But if you're going to have 7 playoff spots and you're going to cut the season in half, well, I could see the Red Sox winning 45 out of 82 games and sneaking into the playoffs. And at that point, who knows what happens? Don't you think there are certain teams, and your team might be one of them, that this could help?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of teams you could say that about, just because you've shortened the season. I mean, basically, how many times have we looked at the standings in June and said, oh, this team's off to a great start, or, oh, this team looks great, and then, falls apart in the second half because they lack the depth of maybe a better ball club or a better organization in the minor leagues or wherever it might be on the bench. So I just think the shortened season kind of gives hope to a lot of teams. I don't think the Red Sox are a playoff team, but you're right. I mean, 80 games, anything can happen. These guys play 162 to find out who the best is. So I think it helps. I think it's really important for the Red Sox to play baseball this year because they can reset that salary cap or luxury tax, as they call it. Because if there's no baseball, they got the same responsibilities next year they have to stay under So if they get a season in, at least half a season in, I think they're going to be fine moving forward.
Lou, outside of Tampa, who is, and I think Tampa has a lot of chances this year because every game will be like playing in the Trop for them because they're used to playing in front of, zero fans. How difficult, your guys played, how difficult will it be for players to adjust to no crowds? Or is that just something media is going to worry about?
No, and, I do wonder that. We were talking about that yesterday, the quality of play. I played a lot of my career in Boston, and it just seemed like everywhere you went, there was a crowd. And then I went to San Diego, and everywhere you went, there was no crowd, right? Depending on what team you were playing, and it was difficult. And I tell you what makes it difficult, a little sneaky thing here, is the fact there's lack of amphetamines. They took those away years ago. Maybe I think it was 2003. And before that, sometimes you get that little bit of adrenaline before a game. Guys would take the greenies, as you guys heard back in the day. I don't know. Trying to find that adrenaline each and every night with no fans in there, it's every single night. And sometimes you need those fans to get that extra boost of energy. It'll be interesting to see. It'll be tough.
Lou, what'd you think of Blake Snell's comments? And obviously this big issue between the players and owners always has been any kind of a cap. The players have been adamant, no flipping way. And then on top of it, that these two sides sat down in late March and agreed to an addendum to the CBA. So, your thoughts as a former player about the compensation issue, and then Blake Snell's comments in the last 24 hours in which he's just like, listen, I'm not taking a pay cut, and this ain't worth it to me to play if I got to take a cut.
Well, first off, if I was Tony Clark, I would go to my team members, and I would pick the smartest one, and I would let him get interviewed. Because as of right now, Blake Snell represents everything that the Major League Baseball players are thinking. And that's a bad thing. I hated what he said. More in particular, I hated the way he said it, I should say. Okay, because he made it all about money. There's a way to articulate the issues of Major League Baseball players. You start with health and the biggest concern. You sort of soften the crowd with that one, right? And then you kind of can get into the finances if you want, and you can talk about the mistrust over the years with the owners, and you don't believe they're losing money, and we want to see the books. There's ways to articulate it that I don't think Blake Snell did. To me, he sounded like an idiot. And if I'm Tony Clark, I'm quickly putting somebody out there in front of the media to hopefully represent the players, because I don't want that representing the player.
Well, there's no doubt that the sound bites, and I don't crush anybody for their opinion, and I do respect what you said. It didn't come out right. His backtrack statement about health after is not going to be heard by nearly as many people. No. But Lou, your greater point is that is what there are a lot of players that came out and said, hey, that's what we're thinking. And that's the part of this that they're going to have to control, because there are other players, not the money side, but the health side, that I think obviously have these concerns.
No, they have a lot of concerns. And I'm sure all of them are concerned with money. It's just that right now, I don't think anybody wants to hear it. When you start talking about the health issues, between the owners and the union, that's fine. But when they start diving in, if they're going to negotiate through the media over the finances, there isn't anybody right now that wants to hear it. There's too many people out of jobs. There's too many people a month away from losing their businesses. These guys got to keep it private, and I get it. But you already have a prorated season. And you already agreed on full salaries there. You don't trust the owners at all. The union will never go with a salary cap. There is a financial agreement there to be made, and I think that they will make it. The thing I'm worried about is it might take a couple of weeks. How much damage are they going to do to this league, to their fan base, if they negotiate over the media? I don't think players should be publicly talking about money. Stick to talking about safety. Do it privately.
Talking with Lou Merloni, WEEI and NBC Sports in Boston. Follow Lou on Twitter at Lou Merloni. If you were playing today, how concerned would you be from a health standpoint? You've got a family. And apparently we're going to do this in everybody's home ballpark. We're not relocating and moving everybody to one spot for months at a time. How concerned would you be if you were an active player from a coronavirus standpoint?
I'd be. I mean, listen. I think you'd be sitting there and you're doing all the research you can. This is when you got to trust the scientists and kind of give you that information to try to make you feel safe, or the league to try to make you feel safe. I was single when I was playing. I'm married now with a family. Yeah, I would be concerned, just like a lot of people are concerned right now. And listen, I don't know where you guys are with this thing, but I would sit there and say, I'm. If pre-existing conditions, that's going to be the biggest issue with some of these players, because some of the players have those pre-existing conditions. This is why I still think it's going to be very difficult for this league to start up and all leagues to start up. But those guys I'd be very concerned for. If I felt like I was healthy, and the realization is if I got to go back to work and the economy's got to get going, then I might have to protect my parents. I might not be able to see my parents. I might not be able to see my grandparents, parents, whatever it might be. People that might be vulnerable to this COVID-19. Pre-existing conditions, I may not be able to see them as either. But I have to go out there, I'll do a job, and I'll be concerned, but I would still go out there and play.
Lou, when the money part of this gets put to the forefront instead of the health, and it was already there before Blake Snell made his comments, it probably made it worse. But I've said all along that if they don't play because of the coronavirus, no problem. If at the end of the day, what you just said, the season's canceled, we can't figure out a way to keep our players, our managers, our staffs healthy, so we're going to sacrifice the season. There is not a fan of sports in the world that will have a problem with that. But if baseball doesn't play because the owners and players can't come to some sort of financial agreement and they lose the season because of that, boy, oh boy, it took steroids and Cal Ripken to get us through 94. I don't know personally, Lou, how baseball would recover during a pandemic of not playing for financial reasons. Don't you think that getting some sort of agreement, whether or not they play because of health is separate, but getting this agreement done is paramount for the future of baseball?
I agree 100%. And that's why I say both sides will realize this. Both sides will realize that financially. And they will come to an agreement, but they can't drag it out in the media. Because even if they come to an agreement and this thing gets ugly and people are reading about how the billionaires don't want to lose millions of dollars and the millionaire players don't want to lose a third of their salary, people will turn on them. And God forbid if they can't come to agreement and there's no base. I agree with you. I mean, I don't know. The game right now, I don't know, even up here in Boston where there's a great fan base, people are bored with it. And I know the team is sort of, maybe rebuilding, but they're upset about the pace of play. They're upset about the players' not willingness to throw in a pitch clock, or their unawareness of how the game is too slow and it's not fun to watch. All of these things. I mean, 4-hour games in Boston, 3.5-hour games in Boston. The game is publicly perception is not in a good place. If you don't play baseball because you financially can't come to an agreement, and the NBA is having the playoffs, or the NHL is having the Stanley Cups, and the Stanley Cup, like, oh my God. Like, I would hate to think about what would happen to the game if that was to happen. And if they don't come to an agreement, that's exactly what's going to happen. People are going to turn on the game.
Lou, help me out then from a player's standpoint. What is it you think? Listen, I don't believe that the players will agree to any sort of thing that's labeled revenue sharing. But I thought there was a chance that they would agree if we put a percentage on a cut. Like, hey, guys, can you give back 10% this year? Because the owners are saying we're going to lose $4 billion. Whether they are or not, that's what they're saying. Can you give back 10%? Where is the give from the players' side, Lou? I mean, the owners, listen, they'll take whatever they can get at this point, but where's the give from the players' side?
I think the union would love to have the owners open up their books fully, and they can see exactly, what they're making, what they're losing. So I wouldn't be surprised if they kind of look at the model of, say, like the NHL, and they say, you're not going to just, it's not going to be revenue sharing because we don't want anything to do with anything that resembles a salary cap. They'll never agree to it. But maybe just, money in an escrow, figure out the percentage, even if it is 10, 15%. And then that way, at the end of the year, the union gets to see the books of Major League Baseball. And I know it's basically similar as the salary cap and what the NHL does, but a smaller percentage that the players might sit there and say, okay, maybe we can give back. Like a third, 50%, I just don't see them ever agreeing to something like that. But a smaller percentage in escrow, end of the year, open up your books, which the union would love to see anyways. So I think that there'll be an agreement there somewhere. I'm not so sure what it will look like, but 50% is probably too much. Definitely
All right.
too much.
I had somebody throw this out to me a few days ago. If you're a player, you want to turn this into a win, Lou. We're not going to have minor league baseball this year. And with the exception of about 50 guys throughout an organization, nobody's making more than $25,000 a year basically playing minor league baseball. Lou, what if the players and owners agreed the players were essentially going to give back whatever it is they're giving back, and they spread that money out to all the minor leaguers throughout each team system to give them some sort of check? Because these guys received a paycheck on like April 15th, and that's the only pay they've gotten playing baseball since Labor Day of last year. Do you think that's something that the players would maybe do for their own brethren, if you know what I mean?
I think that's a great idea, because I think minor leaguers are grossly underpaid. I mean, I think it's ridiculous that basically their pay hasn't really changed since I was in the minor leagues in the mid-'90s. You know, nothing. I mean, it's pathetic what those guys down there make. I think it's devastating to organizations that there's no minor league system. You know, every year there's a guy in high A ball that takes that next step, that finishes the year in Double A, that is on his way to the big leagues. These are vital years for kids that are 21, 22 years old. And to miss that is devastating. So if those guys can help support them, I'd be all for it, and I think they would look good.
Lou, thanks for making time for us. We really appreciate it. All the best with you and your family. Stay safe, and hopefully we're talking about sports on the field the next time we chat.
I hear you, boys. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Lou.
Lou Merlone, former Red Sox player. Now he covers the Boston sports scene on WEEI and also the NBC Sports Channel in Boston. Follow Lou on Twitter at Lou Merlone. And you and I, if you're just joining us, Miller and Moulton are never going to be against a guy telling his truth. We ask it of people, and then when they tell it to us, we believe it's disingenuous at best to beat him about the head and chest with it. But Lou Merlone's comments about Blake Snell going, listen, you can't be our spokesperson right now.
But, and, you know, Lou's in the media, but Lou also played.
Right.
I'm going to allow him a lot more leeway to make an opinion about a ball player because he's an ex-ball player. When the guy who makes his living off of the ball player for his whole life rips the ball player for having an opinion, that's where David and I have a little bit more of a problem.
Mark, if you listen closely to what Lou said, it's kind of the mantra of our show. You know, it wasn't what Blake Snell said, although he wasn't thrilled with it because it was focusing on the money more so than other things. But what was it, Mark?
How he said it.
Was how he said it.
It was the delivery. Absolutely.
Right. So Blake Snell getting support from his major league brethren, not getting a lot of support in the court of public opinion.
And he will get crushed throughout the rest of the day. If you keep listening to this station, my guess is Blake Snell, if he wasn't crushed yesterday, will get crushed today on every platform across the country. And Blake knows it because he already issued a bit of a retraction after his Twitch TV performance. But if he's on Twitch, I have to support him. We're on the same platform, David.
Gotcha. That's what it's been reduced to, huh?
Yes.
He's on Twitch. We're on Twitch. He's got a channel. We've got a channel.
There you go.
We are, one and the same.
Well, I'm thinking about trying to grow our channel, David. I've got to figure out the gaming portion of this. But I told my son last night, if I have to buy a PlayStation so that you and I can play NHL hockey on our Twitch channel to grow the audience, I'm all for it.
So you and your son are going to play, NHL 2021 or whatever. Right. All right. And that's going to grow our audience.
Right.
Wow.
A couple of rage quits by me. I'll go all Bubba Wallace and, throw the controller and quit when he's beating me 8-1.
Well, there is no doubt about that. I'll tell you what, if you really want to attract the viewers, have Casio and your son play. That's always been lively.
I'll get them in the old NCAA football, and that we could make happen. Not a doubt. Couple of little music things going on, because we kind of interject that, and we've got another interview coming up. But the Prince Foundation, along with YouTube and Google, put out a concert from the Purple Rain Tour. And they're asking for donations, but it's going to run for a couple of days. It started last night. And then I just noticed Anita Marks, who's been a frequent guest of the show, tweeted out that Alanis Morissette is doing her Jagged Little musical on YouTube on Tuesday at 8 o'clock. So David and I have been on there. There's so much out there in the music world that people are putting daily concerts, big-time musicians, whether it's their Facebook page or their YouTube page. Lots going on out there if you don't want to watch NASCAR.
The Prince Purple Rain concert, wasn't it from Syracuse?
It is. Syracuse 85, I believe.
Yeah, you're not going to believe this. My wife was at it.
Was she really?
Yes.
That's awesome.
My wife
She'd have been
was
14? 15?
Yes, her mother took her to the concert. All
Oh,
right?
wow.
And
I think we should put the concert on Twitch and have them comment about it together. That would be fun.
As the story has been told to me, it was my wife and one of her very good friends at the time, and that the show was raucous and even a little raunchy.
Oh, yeah, it's Prince.
And Sheila E. on stage together. And meanwhile, my mother-in-law apparently had a book and a little light, and she just sat there and read her book. All right, and wasn't paying attention to anything that was going on stage.
Probably a good thing, because she'd have grabbed her daughter by the arm and walked her out midway through.
Yes. So the minister's wife, all right, was at the Prince concert with the minister's daughter, and the daughter thoroughly enjoying the show, and the minister's wife oblivious to it, reading her book.
Well, maybe she can watch it now and see what she allowed.
Yeah, my guess is we'll just let that one slide. But yeah, so
because that's going on the big screen at some point in the next 24 hours. I'm going to let that rip.
22 minutes past the hour. Patricia Traina covers the Giants, and the New York Football Giants are in the news for nothing that they did. But one of their starting corners, first-round pick from a year ago, kid who went to Georgia, they traded up back into the first round to draft him, DeAndre Baker. Yeah, him and Quentin Dunbar, they're wanted by Miramar, Florida police on 4 charges of armed robbery and 4 charges of aggravated armed assault. Dave Gettleman can't catch a break. We'll talk to Patricia Traina next. Miller and Moulton, Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
2 months, 8 days, 17 hours, and 22 minutes. We've been waiting to hear those 4 words.
NASCAR is back, live from Darlington, Sunday at 2:30 on Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio. Coverage presented by Kobe Cooling and Compass Drug Screening.
We've got our good friend Tim Meister, owner of the Floor Meisters in Naples, on the phone. We're talking about their huge selection and great pricing on Core-Tec flooring. Tim, tell us what's new at the store.
Right now we have 90 colors of Core-Tec in stock, ready to go, pick up, put down as soon as you want it. Everything from starting at $299 on up with lifetime warranty.
And it's not just the many colors of Core-Tec that you have. You also have other Core-Tec products as well.
We also carry the Core-Tec stone product. Looks like tile, looks like stone, but it's Core-Tec, so you get the softness, quietness, and the easy installation to go with it. We also have Core-Tec wood. Look of wood, real wood, but with a more stable core for Southwest Florida's humidity.
If you haven't been to the Floor Meisters, you really owe it to yourself to visit the store. 6281 Naples Boulevard, right next to Costco, or go online, floormeisters.com. That's floormeisters.com.
Hey, Aaron Walker here. Super excited to announce the grand opening of the all-new Giant used car outlet at Naples Nissan. Finally, you can test drive hundreds of previously loved cars, trucks, and SUVs all in one spot. Toyota, Ford, Chevy, Mazda, you name it, we got it. And hey, what's the best part about outlet shopping? That's right, you save tons of money. Over 300 vehicles, wholesale priced, and all backed by our exclusive unlimited mile lifetime warranty. That's a warranty that lasts forever, and that's accepted anywhere in the USA. We've got at least 100 cars you could drive home right now for less than $200 a month. That's probably less than your cell phone bill. Need financing? We got you covered there too. Come see us at the all-new Giant.
Ah, you were right. Yeah, the German Soccer League's back this weekend on FS1. Doosan's up 7-2 on Kia right now.
It's Fred Kobe with your Kobe Cooling Tip.
Kia?
Yeah, Kia's getting killed, and they brought in a bad pitcher, and Kia couldn't even get a base runner on.
I think my Nate certified mechanic team.
Let me know when we're at a minute, please, Jiro.
You see,
okay.
I'm the old guy, and I've been doing this work since I was a kid with my dad.
How do you know they brought in a bad pitcher?
Because his ERA was 11.81.
And they've been through years of training.
Yeah, but he's probably worked like 2/3 of an inning.
Well, his ERA went way down because he got through the bottom of 6.
Companies brag about their experience, and we certainly have that. But we're most proud of our team being on the cutting edge and the leaders in technology and application of the modern.
Don't be a spreader.
That's why we've been voted best air conditioning company in Southwest Florida year after year in the
I feel like I'm on a Letterman kick.
It's not me. It's the best
Yes.
team of Nate certified mechanics
Oh, you
ever
okay?
assembled.
Daughter just shut the door on me. I left the door open. She's doing her squirrel work. She just came in and basically told me I was too loud and shut the door.
It's an ongoing problem.
It's just something. Let me know she's all packed.
With over 300 ports nationwide. Your local Towboat U.S. companies in Charlotte, Lee, and Collier counties are here to help 24/7, 365 days a year.
Who's shaving our head? What?
I yelled, "I'll shave your head if you want me to my daughter," and that's where you're catching up on the text there.
Yeah, unfortunately they're way behind.
With Towboat U.S., you're never stuck on the water.
Well, I'm with you, Trenton, about ditching the segments. I hate the segments.
The what?
A NASCAR.
Oh, the segment.
I hate the segments.
We're still finding a lot of roofs with hurricane and windstorm damage. Call us today for a free inspection. Google DRM Roofing or call 239-332-1441.
License number CCC 1326954.
I think more people are going to watch. I'm with Albert. More people are going to watch.
You didn't tell me a minute.
You didn't hear me?
No, you didn't.
This is Miller and Moulton.
You're live.
28 minutes past the hour. Miller and Moulton, thanks so much for being with us. Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio, streaming at foxsportsfm.com and broadcasting on the Miller and Moulton YouTube and Twitch TV channels. Sign up for them. They are, in fact, free. The good, the better, and the best coming up in a little more than 20 minutes' time. It's a pleasure to welcome back Patricia Traina. She covers the Giants, part of the Sports Illustrated Network family. GiantsCountry.com is where you can see her work, and also she hosts the Locked On Giants podcast every single day. Follow Patricia on Twitter at Patricia_Traina. Patricia, hope you and everyone in your life is safe and well with what is going on. How are you?
I'm doing well, guys. Same to you. I hope everybody's safe by you guys as well.
Yeah, at least associated with this show, we have been lucky so far. Listen, you can question some of the things Dave Gettleman's done here in the last 2-3 years, but the guy also can't catch a break. I mean, you know, it's one thing to have a cornerback have a disappointing season. It's another thing to get charged with 8 felonies. I mean, that's a bad day.
Yeah, it's very unfortunate. It was, I don't want to say stunning, but it was just, it came out of the blue. And, you know, here the Giants are, they're trying to turn over a new leaf. They're trying to get back on the winning track. And this was just a huge, huge unexpected blow and very disappointing to say the least.
And obviously, we don't know how this is going to end up, but it's pretty likely he's not playing for the Giants anytime soon. I guess just how when the Giants are a team, they're not going to put up with something like this. I mean, no matter how this comes out, he's pretty much done as a Giant, right?
I would think so. I know the Giants have as do all teams, generally don't like to give up on talent. But with that said, you've got to let the legal process play out. And from what I'm reading, these charges could carry as many as 10 years. I'm sorry, a minimum of 10 years per count. And, you've got to let it play out. But I would say it's probably not a stretch to think that DeAndre Baker has played his last game as a Giant.
Yeah, I don't see how he plays for them. Never mind anybody else, quite frankly, unless the charges end up getting dropped, to be brutally honest, talking the Giants with Patricia Traina. There are some cornerbacks out there. I mean, the Seahawks now, obviously, they acquired Dunbar. And for those that don't know, DeAndre Baker, Quentin Dunbar, the Miramar, Florida police, they want to talk to both of them. They want to arrest them because they're charged with 4 counts of armed robbery and 4 counts of aggravated assault. Apparently, they brandished some guns and robbed some people at a party Wednesday night over on that side of the state. And Dunbar met with the Seattle media yesterday. And I mean, how bad is that? But there are some cornerbacks that are still out there. I mean, do you think the Giants would entertain veterans like Aqib Talib or even bringing Eli Apple back?
Well, Eli Apple, if I'm not mistaken, I think I thought he signed some. No, I'm sorry. I thought he signed and then he reneged. But the guy I would keep an eye on is Logan Ryan. I know the Jets had expressed some interest in him, and he's still out there. And I could see the Giants maybe going in that direction unless they feel that these young corners they have are going to be able to, cut the mustard. But with that said, we saw how these young corners struggled last year. But if I'm Dave Gettleman, I make a call to Logan Ryan and see if I can get him in on, like a short-term deal, kind of like what they did with James Bradbury. And this way it allows for the young kids behind them to kind of, develop and come up through the system and get their feet on solid footing.
All right. As this offseason goes for the Giants, and anybody with new coaches seems to have, and a new coordinator coming in, this seems to be a taxing situation on a team. But Saquon Barkley came out earlier this week, and how much he's learning. Do you buy that the virtual system's working well for the Giants right now?
Well, I mean, time will tell. Obviously, you have to get on the field and you have to do it. And one of the things I know always made me cringe when a player talked about it was, I'm taking mental reps. Mental reps are only good up to a certain point. At some point, you've got to go out there and take the physical reps and show that you master those as well. With that said, it helps if you know what you're doing. You don't want to just go out there and look around and go, okay, what am I supposed to do? Where am I supposed to go? What man am I supposed to block? So I think that is what the Giants are focusing on right now in these virtual installs. And Joe Judge, when he spoke to the media the other day, said that was coming along, and he was overall pleased with how the players have responded to that.
Patricia Traina covers the Giants for GiantsCountry.com, which is part of the Sports Illustrated family. She also hosts the Locked On Giants podcast every single day. Follow Patricia on Twitter at Patricia_Traina. What are you hearing from the Giants organization about this season from a coronavirus standpoint? Like, we could see where they're obviously the Giants and Jets, the Bears, some of the California franchises, between being a coronavirus hotspot and some of the limitations that have been put on in those areas by the governors. I mean, Patricia, I don't know if the Giants and Jets can be playing at home and working out at home in August and September. I know it's a long time from now, but what is it that you're hearing? What is the vibe? Are these teams going to have to get up and leave, if you know what I mean, for a short period of time to get their season started?
That certainly has come up. That's not a possibility I think we can rule out. Obviously, Joe Judge was asked about that, and he said he would prefer to be at home, because why not? You have everything
Sure.
you need in your building. But with that said, I can't see the NFL, allowing, say, those states that haven't been hit as hard by the coronavirus to open up, and those that have and who are still under stay-at-home orders to just sit there and say, sorry, guys, you're out of luck. What I do think is going to happen as far as the season goes is I would be very, very surprised if we see fans in the stands. I just don't see how that can work until there is a vaccination, or at the very least medication that's been proven safe to deal with this nasty bug that's just, popped up in our lives. But I do think that all attempts are going to be made to have a season. I don't know if it'll be a full season, but there's going to be, contingency plans put in place, and I think they're going to explore every possibility before they say, they reach a point where they say, you know what, we just can't do it. It's not logistically feasible.
What about camp? What are you hearing? I mean, you hear Governor DeSantis saying our state's open, yours is closed. What are the odds of the Giants? Where are they going to relocate training camp to? Because, like we just talked about, there's no way they can do it in New York.
I mean, it's still a ways off. So let's not just say that there's no way. Obviously, a lot has to happen, and we're still several weeks out. But with that said, I would think, and they would prefer to keep it within driving distance. Now, I don't know. Maybe do they go back to Albany, which I think that part of the country or that part of New York State might be opening up again. I don't know. Do they go down to I don't know, one of these southern states like around the Delaware, Virginia area? Do they just say, you know what, let's pack it up and move out? But Joe Judge had a good point. He said, look, right now I don't think I would ask any of my players to get on an airplane. I certainly wouldn't even put my son on an airplane right now until, this thing gets under better control. But certainly the Giants organization, their operations people, they've been looking into different scenarios, different possibilities, and, weighing the pros and cons of the logistics that go behind it. And, it come the time training camps are supposed to open, and the majority of the states that have NFL teams are open for business. The Giants can't sit there and nor can the Jets, who also train in New Jersey. They can't both sit there and say, well, wait a minute, guys, we can't open up. They've got to have some kind of contingency plan in place. So yeah, I could see the Giants, if they need to, move out of state, though I know that's not their first preference.
Patricia, knowing the Giants the way you do, if this DeAndre Baker situation is as bad as it looks, is this just a bad break for Dave Gettleman, or is this something that you think gets held against him by ownership going forward?
I think it's just a bad break. I mean, look, let's face it. Every business hires people to do a job. And a lot of those people, I think, come in and they have fairly clean records. And then what happens if something goes astray? One night somebody snaps and does something that, is just unexpected. I mean, is that the fault of the employer for not seeing it coming? I mean, is the employer supposed to be a fortune teller? Now, in the case of DeAndre Baker, let's be fair here. There were scouting reports that questioned the kid's work ethic. But with that said, there have been many players who have come into the Giants organization, and also organizations around the NFL, who have had red flags, if you will, against their work ethic, and who have turned around and become productive and responsible players. So I don't think that you can necessarily sit there and hold this against Gettleman and say, well, he should have known. I don't think anybody could, how could he have known that DeAndre Baker would allegedly, been involved in something like this? He couldn't have. Nobody could have. So I can't see ownership holding that against Dave Gettleman. But with that said, considering that they did give up, they did trade up to get him. I think they gave up, I want to say 3 draft picks. No, it was 2. I'm sorry. It is a significant blow and a stain on his drafting record.
Patricia, thanks for your time. Continue to stay safe And hopefully we can talk again come training camp, wherever that takes place.
Thank you, guys.
Patricia Traina covers the Giants, GiantsCountry.com, which is part of the Sports Illustrated Network. Hosts a daily Giants podcast called Locked on Giants. Follow Patricia on Twitter at Patricia_Traina. It's funny. Gettleman's made a lot of moves, and more of them have worked out than not. But he's had some big misses, some big things go wrong. And do I think that this is in any way Dave Gettleman's fault? No. Do I think it could get held against him if they go 5-11 or worse? Yeah, I do, Mark. I do. Sometimes you just get a bad break as a GM. And when you spend a first-round pick on a guy who gives you one very bad season. I mean, DeAndre Baker ranked as one of the 10 worst corners in the league last year. But you're thinking, rookie, okay, he'll get better. We're bringing in better coaching on defense. We fired all our defensive coaches. He'll get coached up better. He'll be a better player for us. Yeah. And then you only get a year out of him because he allegedly commits 8 felonies. Yeah, I think that gets held against the GM, whether it should be or not.
There's no way it doesn't. There's just no way it doesn't, David. Right, because the GM could predict that this guy is that big of an idiot that after becoming a millionaire, he's going to go rob 4 people because he liked someone's watch.
Right. But it's a bad break for an organization that has the worst record in the league over the last 3 seasons. No team has won less games in the last 3 years than the New York Giants.
We probably should have said this at the start of the interview, but Patricia's tweet last night after this happened. Wow, I'm reading this affidavit. I know the justice system has to play out, but my gosh, this has left me speechless.
I think her first tweet was it oh no or oh boy?
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh. She retweeted the TMZ sports story with uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
Yes.
Sometimes
yes, Patricia. Uh-oh.
Yep, you're a beat writer and you're covering the team, and sometimes just the
Well, what was your I saw this last night and I was like, am I reading this right? And you're a Giants fan, so what was your uh-oh? Was it all blank?
My first thought was of Gettleman. And because most people liked his draft, if you think about it, the Odell Beckham trade, which he got crushed for, it's actually kind of sort of worked out okay. But he's made the move up for DeAndre Baker, as Patricia pointed out, gave up 2 additional draft picks to do it. And he traded away a high 3rd-round pick for Leonard Williams and now has to pay him franchise tag money. And this guy produced a half a sack in 8 games for him. That's the type of stuff that owners go, Dave, I love you. You were with the organization for a long time before this stint, and I know you've tried hard, and some things have worked out. And you know what? If this Daniel Jones kid can play, we'll always give you credit for drafting Daniel Jones. But you also traded for Leonard Williams and traded up for DeAndre Baker. So here's a severance check, and be well.
And right now, as David pointed out, no one is winning less than the New York Giants.
And that is something that the Mara and Tisch families are not used to at all.
And
at all.
Right now, David, where are the Giants going to finish in the division?
No better than 3rd.
Right. If they're better than anybody, it's Washington, and we don't know.
No, that's a toss-up. That's a toss-up right there as to who's the worst team in the NFC East. I believe it was USA Today yesterday that projected out the NFL season. They did this is what we think every team is going to finish with. Do you know who they had with the number 1 pick in the 2021 draft?
Giants?
The New York Football Giants.
David, when you said worst team in the NFC East, I was going to say they're fighting for the worst team in the NFC.
They picked the Giants to go 2-14.
I think they're fighting. I think the 4th place team in the East will clearly be the worst team in the NFC. Clearly. No one in the South's worse than the Giants or Redskins. I don't think the Lions will be. Remember, they were in that spot with no Stafford and were winning a lot of their football games that they blew.
Carolina did tear it all the way down.
Carolina, you're onto something with Carolina.
Carolina did tear it all the way
Almost.
down. Now, they invested heavily in defense in the draft and signed Teddy Bridgewater and Robbie Anderson, I believe, also at receiver. So maybe they're better. But there's no doubt Giants and Redskins, who both drafted in the top 5 this year, and strong competition to draft in the top 5 again next year. That's quite an achievement, isn't it? 15 minutes before the top of the hour. The good, the better, and the best as we wrap up this Friday edition of Miller and Moulton. Thanks so much for being with us. Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
Welcome to the program.
That leads to a little simple question, David. Is baseball the only city that needs New York? Is baseball the only sport that needs New York to be good? Yeah, it would be better if the Giants and Jets were good, but the NFL doesn't lose any sleep over them not being good.
No.
Hockey, I mean, it would be nice if the Rangers were good, but
yeah,
they've been average, but it's not hurt the league in any way, shape, or form.
No, I mean, they're one of the better TV draws, but
Great news,
Nope.
Southwest Florida. Below invoice employee.
And the Knicks, we all know, they've been bad for 3-4.
Well, that's the great mystery. I mean, the Knicks have been irrelevant for a generation. How much, especially now with LeBron out west and not a huge draw in the Eastern Conference, how much could the NBA benefit if the Knicks were to get good?
Well, see, like Triton says, the bottom falls out of their ratings if New York doesn't care. But see, New York cares about the NBA. That's the part of this. New York loves basketball. So if I don't know how, but to his question, how much more basketball is New York watching if the Knicks are good from a national standpoint? Really?
Yeah.
Nationally?
Yeah. Well, no, they'll watch the Knicks games. But
Right. I mean, the national TV numbers, like the NBA final numbers, New York's watching. That's my point. I know if the Knicks were playing, they'd watch more, but I mean, New York's watching the NBA year-round.
If you answered yes to either question, it's very likely your roof suffered damage from Hurricane Irma. It's not visible from the ground.
I'll have to look into that.
All right.
As to just how much the city is still watching the NBA.
Time is running out. If you have a tile or shingle roof and live between Port Charlotte and Marco Island, call us.
There are people in New York that are also interested, will Brooklyn truly catch on? Like, can Brooklyn become the Mets?
Williamson Brothers Roofing. We deal with the insurance carrier.
Because there are a lot of Mets fans in the city and in the surrounding area. And can Brooklyn ever become the Mets? Or are they always going to be the, Clippers?
We have experts standing by. We get claims approved. 239-283-2015.
Mark, are we live on YouTube, or do we post that after the show?
No, we should be live.
I had a guy text me and said he's been trying since 7 o'clock to get us on YouTube.
I don't know the answer. I mean,
I don't either.
Says live now.
Huh.
I'm turning it on. It's live now. It was 2 clicks and I got it on. So I don't know what to tell you. There's 7 people watching. We started streaming 2 hours ago, apparently. Now, I thought we started a little earlier than that, but it might not go to 3 hours until we get to 3.
Listen to Miller and Moulton at home on your
No. And someone said we had a problem on Twitch. I went on mine, and I had the same problem. I refreshed the page, and it went away. So, oh, yeah, I got to do this thing. See if there's any other good stories. I need something. There's a Scarface reboot being made?
Why?
I don't know. I watched the original the other day, and it still plays.
Everything from starting at $2.99 on up with...
Say hello?
It's so great. It's actually so great and so awesome. It is one of those movies, when you watch it now, I don't think it... Like The Godfather, you can watch it 50 years from now, and it's still great. Scarface has a cheese factor now that it didn't have when you watched it originally.
I really think Scarface is not that far away from, like, Caddyshack. That's how cheesy awful.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I watched it the other day. It oozes cheese.
Yes.
Don't
His
know who's
accent-
playing it. The Coen brothers are writing it, and it's being directed by this guy named Luca Guadagnino, who did a movie called Call Me by Your Name. I've never heard of it. But the Coen brothers are writing it.
Luca Brasi? What?
Not Luca Brasi.
That's mypooldoctor.com or 239-574.
Pacino's accent kept changing it.
Yes, it's all, and I guess maybe because I know far more Cubans now, his accent's flipping awful. Awful.
You know things are really bad when Waffle House is closed and Mark Miller has a positive attitude.
Let's pump the brakes there.
With that being said, here's our brand new bright and shiny segment. Mark Miller's The Good, The Better, and The Best. Man, I hope we get back to normal fast. This is weird.
You're live.
For the good, it's a terrible story that it always amazes me through tragedy how people can do great things, because I don't know if I have that in me. John Lynch, not that John Lynch, but this John Lynch certainly does. He's from New Jersey, and his father was at a memory care center in Atlanta. He couldn't see him because of the coronavirus and never got to say basically his final goodbyes. Got to do it over FaceTime, and found out from his own experience that nurses are using their personal cell phones to help patients connect with family. So after he lost his father, he started Operation Connection, the iPad projects, to get tablets in the hands of elderly patients at healthcare facilities so they can see their friends and family online. So far, he's collected more than 60, and they're being distributed to nursing homes and hospitals across the country. He says, in memory of my father, Hugh Lynch, I want to help people in hospitals communicate with their family members. That's awesome, man. That really is. I always just the spirit of the human just kills me when they do things like that, because I can't imagine being that upset and then taking it and doing something that good that quickly. Absolutely fantastic. For the better, we go to Wisconsin. And I know, David, got your ass kicked once in Wisconsin.
You zip in, you zip out.
But Morgan Marsh McGlone came up with the idea to have a virtual lemonade stand to raise money to feed families in need. She started with the goal of $90. She sees 7. So $90 she thought was a pretty good goal. In the weeks that she's done that, she has now raised $25,000 on her virtual lemonade stand. That's feeding 600 families for a week, according to the charity that she is donating to. Well done, young lady.
Tremendous.
And finally, for the best, we go to Queens, where Jaden Hardauer had what doctors say was a coronavirus-related condition and collapsed. He's 8. His 15-year-old brother, who learned CPR as a Boy Scout, kept his little brother alive until first responders arrived. EMTs would then use a defibrillator to revive him. He was taken to the hospital where he stayed for 2 weeks. He is now home, recovering, and has tested negative for the coronavirus, but positive to the antibodies. Wow. I mean, all three of these just amaze me in completely different ways, but way to go, Jaden. Way to go, Tyrant, the 15-year-old brother who saved his little brother. And that is a spectacular week-ending good, better, and best on this 15th day of May in the longest year of the human existence.
Listen, you and I are only children, and we have commented over the years that we don't fully understand, obviously, the whole sibling thing because we didn't have them. All right. But from paying attention, there's, the dynamic between older and younger siblings. And man, when you're the younger sibling and you owe your older sibling your life, I mean, my goodness, the chores, the things, I mean, man, it's because brothers and sisters will hold little things over you. I mean, finally they get into a dispute at whatever age and he can just go, I saved your life once.
Right. Well, and the only break for the 7-year-old is the 15-year-old is going to be out of the house in a few years. So he's only got about 3 years of this until they're adults. And then it's going to be like, hey, can you get me a beer? Get your own beer. I saved your life.
Life once.
Your life.
Do I really have to get up and get a beer? We joke about athletes in certain towns. You know, they hit a shot and what have you. They'll never have to pay for anything again. I don't know. Older brother there, when younger brother gets it going, you know, gets a job, starts making a few bucks. I don't know. I don't think older brother buys the first couple times.
Certainly hope not.
Going to have to, but great story.
I certainly hope not. Hope everybody has a tremendous weekend.
We got NASCAR on Sunday, Mark. It's our poll question.
NASCAR.
We've got live free sports on television. And I think there's golf on Sunday also. And somebody pointed out on Twitch, is it Premier League?
No, the German League. The German League returns.
So we got soccer over the weekend. We got a made-for-TV golf event. We got NASCAR. Our coverage begins at 2:30 Sunday here on Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio. But our poll question, all right, you got free live sports on television with NASCAR. You're going to watch. And at first, it was about 60% no. Right now, it's 42%. So 58% are going to watch in some way, shape, or form. 1 out of 5, Mark, are fired up. Can't wait. 38% are like, yeah, I'll watch some. And right now, 42% say no interest. So interest is on the move.
Well, and I think a lot of people who even say no interest, if they turn their TV on Sunday, David, and are flipping channels, are going to go, oh yeah, I'll watch this for a little bit, and then they'll probably realize they still hate NASCAR and turn it off. But I think there's a factor of people who are saying they have no interest that are still going to watch it.
Now, I don't know if we'll miss the fans as much with NASCAR because, quite frankly, racing is so damn loud. I mean, so that I don't know how much not having the crowd noise is going to matter to a whole lot of viewers.
Call Joe Buck. Let's pipe racing noise into the football games.
You know, you make a dadgum good point. Miller and Moulton. Continue to stay safe. Have a great weekend. Thanks so much for spending part of your time with us. We are Miller and Moulton, and this is Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
All right, you guys have a good weekend. See you Monday.
Giro, you do the very same, my friend. Talk to you on Monday.
Thanks for everything.
Okay, thank you.
Twitch folks, thanks. Chip, you got here a little late because we're done. But thanks, everyone, and we'll see everyone. Talk to everyone on Monday.